You are about to opt in to Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How's it going, man?
It's going all right. I feel like I haven't really been paying that much attention to the Monero news this week, so whatever you have will be probably news to me, I think.
Oh, shit. I was kind of hoping the same.
Nope.
Nah, I always pay attention to some degree. But I feel like I haven't been paying attention to the kind of what's going on with the Cubic attack and the response to that. I did read through the Monero Research Lab meeting, but beyond that, I haven't been paying attention. How about you?
Well, you've done more than I have, because there are some weeks where I just feel like I can catch, Monero at a glance, but I don't really pay that much attention to it, because honestly, it just works. And so why do you need to pay attention to it when it just works?
Yeah, exactly. Well, although recently though, that has not been the case though, right? Like people are watching it right now because there are some questions.
18 block reorg, at least for me, it didn't affect anything at all. And then for other people, all they had to do was type in one command into their node, like flush_tx pool, and they could continue using their Monero wallets as normal.
Yeah, is that what the case was?
Yeah, there was an 18 block reorg. Some transactions were put back into the mempool, and they would either come back out after I think it was 7 days and be allowed to spend again, or if they wanted to do it faster, they could connect to a node that had run like flush_tx pool, which would clear out the log, and then you could use your wallet again. So that was really a big deal.
Yeah, I saw CFB come from behind, or whatever his name is, come from beyond. He was putting out some more weird tweets. Did you catch any of his tweets this week?
I don't use X.
He was like, how do we know the reorgs even really happened? Da, 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 da. And then he was like, I don't know. He's so strange. He's mysterious. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I don't pay any attention to X at all, as I don't have X and never actually look at it. And sometimes I catch things from the Reddit, but very rarely.
Yeah, I think some people are trying to say he's trying to he doesn't want to be blamed with the double spend, right, legally. But I don't know, a little too late for that.
Well, then you shouldn't have done an 18 block reorg, then, should you?
Right, exactly. So were there technically any doubles? No, there's no double spends.
Not that I'm aware of. Yeah. There were a couple of transactions that were like invalidated or whatever, but as I said, you had to run one command on your node or connect to a node that had run that command.
Nobody lost Monero or like went to the wrong,
Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. So, I mean, still not the best, right? It was still disruptive, but it's nice to know that like at least like the wheels don't completely come off when there's a deep reorg necessarily.
See, that's the funny thing, right? Is like you'd think, I did notice this, like that happened, and then the price rose. So it's like even when there's stuff like this happening, Monero is such a useful currency that people continue to use it.
Yeah, I don't even know what that's about. Dude, Monero's price action just makes no sense, man. I've been paying attention to it, obviously, forever. It's like sometimes things will like align with what's actually happening. But for the most part, it just seems to, I don't know, man. It has a mind of its own.
As I said, I use Monero, like I use the simple moving average for all of my prices, and I can go days without looking at the price.
Yeah. Like we had that pump to 400, right, a couple of months ago. Like what the hell was that? Right?
Over enthusiasm, that's what it was. Because if you'd looked at the moving averages, they hadn't moved up as fast.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Bawdy gets in. We'll get into this, or he gets into this all the time. I don't see him up though. Is he coming on the show?
I don't know. I hadn't heard anything from him. I know Tony said he wasn't going to be here today.
No Tony. We do have a special guest though. We have Dr. K from BasicSwap, Dr. Kapil. Not to be confused with the other Dr. K that we had on a couple of days ago.
I was going to say, because wasn't there another Dr. K that was talking about the work share? That would be confusing.
Yeah. He's from what's it called? I know it was called the Cubic. What is it?
Can't remember what.
Quai.
That's it.
Quai. The names. We're running out of names for these cryptos. There's so many of them. There's no way to even come up with a decent name at this point if you launch a new crypto. No, Dr. Kapil. He should be well known to everybody that tunes into this show. We've had him on a couple times. Done Monero talks with them.
Oh, and we just got a message from Bawdy saying he'd be here in about 5 to 10.
Oh, sweet. Bawdy could give us his lowdown on what's happening with the Cubic stuff as well. Would love to do obviously more in depth on it. I had some good shows on it. Actually, with Dr. K, that was a great show, taking the pro proof of work perspective. But yeah, I would like to get some more devs, people that are really watching this closely. Maybe get a Monero talk going next week on that topic. Ofrnxmr, if you're out there, we'd love to get you to do a full Monero talk. Or feel free to jump on today if you like. Although I'd like to save you for your own show. Yeah, let's all right, let's shill some things here. Let me bring up Monerotopia at least. So we are starting to make some progress with that. Let's bring it up. We don't have any speakers listed yet. But we do have our first two sponsors and big ones. So our main stage sponsors for Monerotopia 2026. We've already landed our main stage sponsors, which is super exciting and comforting. It really helps us with moving ahead, with planning the conference, takes away pretty much all the risk. So that, makes it a lot easier for us to do this. Taking away that element. So we greatly appreciate our main stage sponsors and the fact that they stepped up so early to support. And now the rest of the work will be, getting the speakers on board. The vendors, I already have a good relationship with, I don't know about a good relationship, but I have a relationship with a lot of them now already. I'm because of the way I onboarded them last year, I started WhatsApp chats with them, so I'll be able to individually hit up a lot of these vendors to get them going. But we usually end up working with a person that's running the vendors anyway, and then we coordinate through them. But for purposes of making sure they will all be accepting Monero, right? To accept Monero, I should be able to get that going pretty smoothly. And then the last piece of the puzzle is getting the people there. So that's you guys. So if you are thinking about going, think a little faster, pull the trigger, make it happen. Bring some new people down. Obviously, we want to make this one bigger and better than ever. I think we could certainly do that. Want to grow it in Mexico City as well. We did a good job with PR last year, but we didn't do the PR in time to really promote the event. It was kind of just after the fact, getting the word out that the event happened. And so we got a lot of local media to do that. So this year we're going to follow up with them and now let them get the word out that the 2026 event is happening, and see if we can get some locals to show up. We've been doing well in that area. But maybe this can be, our breakthrough year. There's 20 million people in Mexico City, so I'm sure we could find a few cypherpunks in Mexico City, or just people that understand the importance of cash. I think from what I've witnessed and understand, I think cash is an important part of Mexican culture. You see vendors everywhere, and thankfully they're all accepting pesos. Obviously they have other means as well. They all have smartphones and whatnot, but it's not like cash is dead in Mexico City by any means, which is beautiful. I think everybody expects it. They see it as part of their culture, as part of their day-to-day. I don't think maybe they even stop to think about the fact that governments around the world are trying to eliminate it, because that doesn't appear to be the case in Mexico. But my point being, they understand cash. So if you can teach them about digital cash, very good chance we could get Monero to truly grow in Mexico City. So without further ado, the main stage sponsors are Cake Wallet and Edge, which is pretty wild, right? So these are two of the main, if not, definitely Cake is the main Monero wallet. I'd say I think Edge is probably the second biggest in the ecosystem. So very exciting to have them both on board. Cake has obviously participated in all of our Monerotopias to date, has supported us in basically all our ventures. Can never say enough about Cake and what Vic has personally done to help support me and Sunita and the show. And so super excited to have them and to have them jump up on board again this year. And Vic, being the gentleman he is, and really the ultimate Monero supporter, was okay with us taking on a competing wallet. I think that says a lot about Vic. He's always been open to competition. I've even seen him fund competitors, like donate to competitors' causes. And so very thankful that not only is Cake sponsoring, taking it, as always, taking top tier sponsorship, but being open to having a competing wallet as the main stage sponsor, which is Edge Wallet. So super excited to have Edge Wallet for the first time. We've had Paul Pui participate in a couple of the Monerotopia, in all the ones in Mexico City. I don't think he was at the one in Miami. He's been a great contribution to the conference. He really knows the conference, and he really loves it. He's come to love it. He what he loves most about it is that we're focused on adoption and usage. And so Edge wants to help the cause, wants to help grow the conference, and wants to be a big part of the Monero accepting marketplace out there. He sees it as a good testing ground for testing his wallet, seeing it being used out in the wild, much like what happens at PorcFest. So very excited to have Edge and to have Paul Pui himself, who will be down there, and I'm assuming the Edge team, some people from Edge as well. So obviously we'll have talks from the Cake Wallet team, we'll have talks from the Edge team, we'll have panels, and we'll have Cake and Edge being used out in the wild at Monerotopia, and I'm fairly certain every single vendor will be accepting Monero this year, as we have the various wallets competing to onboard Monero users. Most of them, like I said, already are. So super excited about this. It's really coming together, and excited to have both these competing wallets supporting Monerotopia. I think it's a good sign.
That's really amazing. And I think with Vic, I think he seems to get that the rising tide lifts all ships. If he's willing to, be alongside competitors and be like, here's our offering and here's their offering, and you choose what's best for you. But that's fine. Like, I don't use Monero.com as my daily wallet, but I absolutely love it, and I have it on my device, and I do use it. So it's not like it's a bad wallet, and you absolutely, in my opinion, you have to have it just so that you can explain to other people how to do things with it. If you need to show somebody something, you open your Monero.com and you walk them step by step through it, and you're seeing the exact same screens they are.
Exactly. And these two wallets, they're different in ways, right? Cake Wallet and Edge are different. There's pros and cons to each. We have Cake on the show all the time, but we'll have them as part of the sponsorship. So we'll do that at some point. But we'll also have Paul come on as well. So we'll learn about Edge. We'll bring Paul up on this show and on Monero Talk. We'll learn about Edge because they do things differently, right? Edge has always been known to use the My Monero server with the view key. They've done this from day one, which has been really, really effective in terms of usability and UX, essentially getting rid of all the issues that people have historically complained about with regards to Monero, right? The syncing. You open the wallet. If you haven't opened it in a long time, it takes a long time to sync. That issue goes away when you're using the My Monero server with your view key and scanning transactions. So, basically Edge does the scanning for you. And whenever you're opening your wallet, it's already synced.
And Monero.com has done a lot to fix that as well. It's not quite as good, but it's darn close. Having that daily background sync. I mean, only having to pull 720 blocks takes no time at all.
Right. So Cake and Edge have always they've gone different paths on this from the beginning. And arguably what's given Cake and Edge is that a lot of people in the Monero community obviously are very obsessed with if they're using digital cash, they want to use it in the most untraceable, secure way possible. Edge uses your view key, which arguably is very secure, and we'll have Paul on talking about it and what getting his viewpoint on why that could theoretically be argued to be just as secure as not giving up your view key for scanning transactions. But there's certainly arguments that theoretically your privacy can be invaded with that view key. And so Cake has always avoided that and never used view keys, right, in the wallet. It's just a true crypto pure wallet that syncs the blockchain, right? And with that has come some sacrifice in usability, but Monero users have always been okay with that, knowing that their keys are secured. Nobody's holding their keys, but they are. Nobody has any means of looking into their transactions, even theoretically, and they're willing to sacrifice a little UX, and that's always kind of been the competition. But what's interesting now is Cake has figured out a lot of ways to make that work. With the background sync and other things. We've seen Monerotopia come up with solutions for trying to get rid of the 20-minute lock time, doing interesting things. So they'll be at the conference as well. They're not a main stage sponsor, so I can't be talking them up right now, but they've always participated in one way or another in the conference. Hoping Andres of Monerotopia will be participating. He helped run the Spanish portion of the conference, did an amazing job with that. He was also the one that helped really get the PR out to all the local media outlets after the conference. So yeah, we'll have all three of these wallets. We'll be at the conference, onboarding vendors. Everybody will be using Monero. Wallets will be competing. We'll be comparing technologies.
I wonder.
In my mind, this is what Monero is all about. I
wonder if Monfluo will be represented there.
What's Monfluo? That's another?
It's a wallet. Yeah, it's another wallet.
Fork of Monerotopia or something.
Yeah, it's a fork of Monerotopia, but it's gone a little bit different path. So it's got some interesting things. They call it a no BS pure Monero wallet. It's got no fiat exchange APIs, no fiat APIs for getting price. It's literally just you open it and it shows your Monero balance and your Monero transactions and lets you send and receive Monero. It's kind of the wallet for like the pure circular economy person. Yes. When you're pricing your items in Monero and keeping your balance in Monero and not giving a shit about fiat whatsoever.
Wasn't there what is the name of this one?
Monfluo, Monfluo.
There was another one that was trying to basically be that
Maisu.
same.
Maisu was a fork of Monerujo, and then it died, and then Monfluo is a fork of Maisu. So it's just a continuation of that project.
I often think about wallets, right? So I mean, I think maybe if we were ever to launch an XMR Bazaar app, right? It would also effectively kind of become a new Monero wallet.
Speaking of XMR Bazaar, I like the new forums.
Yes, let me bring that up as well. Let me close out discussion on this topic. So yeah, super excited to have these two main stage sponsors, Cake Wallet and Edge. And now we'll be adding speakers. We'll be reaching out to speakers. We actually do have a VIP dinner sponsor, just not ready to announce it yet. Very excited about that. Privacy tech projects. Trocador is already on board. Super excited to have them as well. And then this is where we'll add like the other privacy tech, projects like, Xano, Firo, BasicSwap, who's jumping on the show today, Particle. I would like to get Zcash at the conference. I know that's controversial, but be very excited to have them. That Dr. K Kwai guy, would like to have them. They sound pretty cool. Maybe not a privacy tech project per se, but interested in the things they're doing with regards to proof of work. Although they do have privacy elements. They're just not as private as Monero. Obviously, some people cringe at that. But there's privacy or no privacy. And then we have the Adoption Alley, right? So this is where we'll add all our sponsors, whether they're the main stage sponsors, the privacy tech sponsors, or just what we call Adoption Alley sponsors. So people that just want to participate. They don't want to do a talk. They're not looking to be a main sponsor, but they want to show that they're supportive of Monerotopia. And we add, basically anybody that is a Monero accepting business, is building some startup in Monero, reach out to us. You could be a part of Adoption Alley. We either make an in-kind deal with you, where you help promote the conference, or if you're a relatively big company that has revenue, we do ask that you place a sponsorship, which is what Monerica did. So thank you to Monerica. They are our first Adoption Alley sponsor, and they did meet the suggested donation. Very thankful for them. They've participated, I think, in all our Monerotopias in years past as well. And yeah, Riot, who runs that, he's doing a great job with Monerica. So super excited about that. But yeah, let's move over to XMR Bazaar for a minute. Thank you for reminding me, Shortwave. On XMR Bazaar, we launched forums this week, which is super cool. And I think this is the first of its kind, at least in Monero, where not only is it a forum, right? It's got basic topics that you would expect on an XMR Bazaar like platform for a community of people looking to live off of each other peer-to-peer with Monero. So there's a help section, there's a suggestion section for ideas that you might have for XMR Bazaar. There's a marketplace discussion section. So, a lot of people just hang out in the troll box all day talking about like their listings and stuff. Well, you could do that all here. So in addition to having your listings up and published, you could come talk about them in marketplace discussion, which I'm sure will lead to all sorts of collaborations and things among users. There's a Monero discussion section. So we're hoping this becomes like the Monero Reddit, right? On XMR Bazaar. There's a freedom tech section. So this is where you could talk about other privacy tech projects. There's casual chat, just so you could have those off-topic, go on those off-topic rants that people like to do in the troll box. Well, now you can bring it here. And then there's serious discussions. And so what's unique about this forum is not only can you just make posts, but you can tip people for the posts that they make. So super cool. Let's see. Well, here was the XMR Bazaar forum post, and it's already received a tip of 0.1 XMR Bazaar. 0.1 Monero, I'm sorry. So I do think that's kind of the first of its kind. I don't know if I've ever seen that. So then obviously the tipping plays into, we haven't added it yet, but you'll be able to sort the forum by like most tipped. And so the hope is that this will encourage people to post quality content, because if they do, they'll get tipped for it. So let's see, like what has them. So we have casual chat has 72 posts.
By the way, I did find a bug.
Okay, please let us know.
There's I was trying to write something about Meshtastic, and I happened to be trying to write about the power output, and I put less than or equal to 1 watt, and then continued on with my post. And then when I published it, I realized that it stripped out everything after that less than sign. So like it put everything up to that, and then the less than, equal, and everything out after that was gone. And so I ended up having to do LESSTHANOREQALTO.
Okay.
I had to actually spell it out and use it instead of using the symbols.
Well, you could put that. You could post that in the forum.
Oh, I did already.
Under the suggestions. Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I put it in the bug reports section.
Oh, thank you so much. I will. You should be sent a tip for that. So let's see. Yeah, in the Monero section. Let's see. Oh yeah, here. Okay. So Sam Bent did a post, very well written post on why should you run a node, and he gives 50 reasons why to run a Monero node. So super high quality post, great information. I sent it a tip. Sent it 0.01 Monero. So yeah, if you want to tip somebody, just click the tip button. You send Monero to the address, and then you do have to then post a transaction ID and transaction key, which is a little clunky. We will probably change things at some point, but you know, kind of using the basic architecture of the site that we have now, it allows us to implement this tipping feature. But obviously, there's improvements that can be made. We've been talking about, and we should probably do a good write-up on this in suggestions and see what kind of feedback we get for a suggested feature. But we're thinking about integrating a web wallet into XMR Bazaar.
I don't know that I would do that.
Non-custodial, so similar to the way the escrow works. So you would hold your own keys. I don't know. We're thinking about it. You're opposed?
I'm very leery. I'd put it that way. Okay.
I mean, my thinking with it is obviously it'd be an option, right? So if users want to use it and they would understand what, you know, how it's built, they could see the code, whatnot. They know they're holding their own keys. They also don't have to hold a ton of Monero on it. Maybe they just have $10 worth of Monero sitting on there. But what that would then do, it would make these other features more seamless. So things like for tipping, right? They'd be able to just hit tip. It would tip, right? There'd be less of a process and procedure for things like that. And then even for things like checking out, or potentially it could even make the escrow feature more fluid. But my thinking is it wouldn't be like a default. It'd be an option that if users wanted to, they could start using it, and then we would see if that kind of becomes the norm. But yeah, your initial response is apprehension?
Yeah, I'm very wary of it, that's for sure.
What is your concern?
I just feel like doing web wallets in general is a bad idea. We already see a bunch of, issues with things like MetaMask and fake extensions.
Yeah, I just feel like they're becoming,
like that, they will private keys.
Yeah, you don't think they'll become more normalized as like the tech improves and if they're done correctly? Like my Monero has a web wallet that I think
Yeah, and it's
has
recommended not to use it.
right, but has there been issues? I mean, what is the
I mean, not that I'm aware of, but
yeah. I mean, these things are all like on a scale, right? Like you could use like what was the my Monero fork wallet? What was it called again?
Monfluo.
Right. So that's like the extreme, best way to use Monero, right, in the most based way. And then on the other side of the extremes is things like a web wallet. So there are maybe reasons why you might want to use one because you get some more usability, but at some potential sacrifices. And then my understanding is if they are built right and everything's open source, they're pretty secure. I mean, you're holding your own keys. Nobody can spy in your transactions. Obviously, if somebody puts some kind of malware on your computer and like in your browser, then things can happen there. But that could potentially even affect a wallet, a traditional wallet. If you have malware, right? We've seen that where they like change the addresses of when you go to send your Monero, right? You copy one address and then you paste it into the wallet and it's a different address. So there's different types of attacks that exist. Obviously, something like a web wallet would theoretically be open to more attacks, I guess. But I do think there's a place for it. Is my current take.
I don't know if you could force it, but if you could force it to not allow transactions over, like if you could force it to not allow like a balance over, say, like 0.05 Monero or something, and then if there was anything over that, it would automatically be sent to another wallet of your choosing. That might be something interesting. That way, that way you could not hold too much money on an account that would be easy to compromise.
Yeah.
That would be something interesting.
You're saying it would only allow you to hold a certain amount?
Yeah, so like for example, you could hold up to 0.05 Monero in it, and then if it exceeded that balance, the remaining balance beyond 0.05 would automatically be sent to your other wallet or whatever.
Yeah, or you could set that number to whatever you want it to be, right?
Yeah, that something like that might be interesting if it could be done.
There you go. I love that. See, like lots of times these, we kind of assume some of these things are what they are, but they're still evolving, right? I think there's a future for web wallets done right. I don't think it's like a technical impossibility to do them in a way where there's use cases for them. So we're definitely not pursuing that yet, but open to talking about it. Yeah, so I guess maybe we get Anarchio or Aaliyah to write a post up about it, and then we could see what people say, how they respond. Monero Vault tip $2.98, very generous of you. For those interested, Monero Vault, a version 1.0.8, along with its 12 XMR bounty, that's a very big bounty, is officially live. If you worry about your current seed backup and want to try a new method, check out the GitHub repo or my XMR Bazaar page. It's FOSS. Very cool. So yeah, that's cool. So there's a bounty out there. I think we had him jump. You're welcome to jump up, Memoro. I don't know. How do you pronounce that? How would you pronounce that, man? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. I can't see it.
Yeah. I think he's trying to combine memory with Monero. You're welcome to jump up and give us an update on what's going on with the project and to tell people about the bounty. You can jump up during viewers on stage. Appreciate the tip. He also then said to clarify, Monero Vault is not a wallet. It is a last resort backup, just like a physical safe acts as a backup and not a wallet. So it's a safe for storing your keys. He did come on and describe it at one point. Maybe he wants to jump up again. He's welcome to do it. Quadrio Chalata tipped 3 cents. Is Greece in a state that could be used to solve this problem? I don't know which problem he's referring to at that point. I guess Greece is the layer 2 for Monero that's been proposed, right?
Yeah, Greece is the layer 2, although I don't know which problem he'd be asking if it could solve. I'm not totally sure on that.
Yeah, apologize. That was at 11:37. I guess something with the web wallet.
No, that was before that. It was probably in the cubic 18 block reorgs, if I had to take my guess.
Okay.
And I don't think it would solve that, but I don't see why it would.
Yeah. All right, so that's what's going on at XMR Bazaar, guys. So go ahead, head over there. Even if you don't have anything to sell yet, you're not looking to buy anything yet, you could just start participating in the forum. It's a great way to earn Monero anonymously, no KYC, and to contribute. A lot of people are out there contributing anyway. If you're posting things elsewhere, right? You're already posting on Reddit. You're already posting long form articles somewhere. You have a blog. You have your own blog. Just like Sam Bent is doing, like he has his own blog, but now he's posting his blog posts on here as well. It's just a way to earn Monero, and it will improve the forum. So super excited about that and see where it goes. I do think it's going to lead to some quality content, and then maybe we can continue to grow that concept as well. You know, beyond just a typical forum, this idea of tipping for content. Right, Shortwave. Is this being done anywhere with Monero?
Not that I'm aware of. You with XMR Bazaar and I'm blanking on XMR Chat. That's the word. Are the only ones I know of doing it.
Yes, obviously XMR Chat, which is for tipping during streams, and potentially other things as well. Right, we've talked about this becoming a way to essentially like send somebody a super DM. Right, as a way to get to somebody who's busy. They could have their Signal account connected to it, and they would get the XMR chat. So kind of a way to pay to contact people. But mostly we use it for Monero-based super chats. So I'm going to post the link right now. Send your Monero-based super chats to xmrchat.com/MoneroTalk. As always, we greatly appreciate them. Obviously, some people are already doing it. And yeah, I haven't really seen this other tipping method being done for I know it's an idea that's been discussed, but I haven't really seen it out in the wild too much, and hoping to perfect it and grow it here. I think it's a great use case for, microtransactions for digital cash. So excited about that. Anything else I want to say about XMR Bazaar? Not really. I mean, it's growing. We're getting some very generous support tips. So we have 38.3 XMR. So we've had some generous donations come in, and when people donate, they do get a badge. So the supporter badge is 0.001, resistor is 0.1, liberator is 1 Monero, and founding father is 10 Monero. And we had somebody that sent us our first 10 Monero. So this is our first founding father virtual P2P, donated 10 Monero, and is a founding father. It looks like he uses it, and look, he boosts a lot of his posts. Looks like he primarily uses XMR Bazaar for local Monero type of trades. So very nice to see. And every time I open this, I'm seeing the number click up. So we're at 38.3. Our goal is 60 Monero. So excited to see that. Another thought, something that's being discussed. I don't want to go on too much of a tangent, but like we tried last year, I want to get the Monero ATM going at the conference at Monerotopia. I don't know, Shortwave, if you're aware of that effort that we did last year.
I'm dimly aware of it. Talk to the Monero Pay people.
Exactly. The Monero Pay people, they came to the conference. They gave a talk. The goal was to try to get them to hack together an ATM. They've done this at MoneroCon, but it was with a lot of preparation. So it didn't happen last year, although they were a great contribution to the conference in other ways. But now that we have time to make it for 2026, we're going to spark things up and try to really make it happen this year, to have a working Monero ATM at Monerotopia, but not just like a traditional KYC'd, essentially bank-owned, corporate-owned ATM. This is just going to be a box. Think of it as a local Monero machine, a local Monero box, where you coordinate the transfer of Monero to peso trades or peso to Monero trades that are essentially happening peer-to-peer, but just through this box, so that can temporarily hold cash and then pass it off to the buyer of that cash using Monero. So it's like local Monero trades, but happening through this
That
box.
would be really neat. So like Doug wants some Monero, and so he walks up to this thing and puts some cash into it, some pesos or some dollars or whatever, and gets Monero out of it, sent to his wallet. And then the next person walks up and wants some cash for their Monero, so they send some Monero to this ATM, and it spits out the appropriate dollar bills or pesos or whatever, and then they walk away. That'd be kind of a neat. And then there's no bank involved, there's no exchange involved, there's no third party involved. That'd be neat.
Exactly. So this, I'm not taking credit for pitching this. So this came from the Digital people when they first built their Monero ATM at Monero.Town a couple of years ago. They were talking about this concept and how it could essentially do this, and that it could even become its own liquidity pool, right? So like the price can be based on the local market of, cash coming in, Monero going out. So if there's only a little cash in the box, maybe, it's worth more. But even if you don't do that, right, there's other things you could do. So been thinking about, and then I personally been thinking about this for years, right? Like I'm thinking like, how can we get this to work? And it finally like clicked and started to make a lot of sense in my head and how it could work. I do see it working at Huerta Roma. The way I see it working is it will really be run by people that are local to the area in Mexico City that are Monero people that are always in the market for essentially purchasing Monero for cash, right? So they'll be the key to making this work. And so they'll go and load the box with cash, right? There may not even, so sometimes they'll have to wait for the Monero to be sent to them, right? But they'll know to go load the box. This is where XMR Bazaar comes in. So I see this working in tandem with XMR Bazaar. So you'll know the locations of the boxes, obviously, but you'll also have, through your XMR Bazaar account, you can be notified when the box is empty and in need of cash to go fill it with cash, so that you know that there is an opportunity to go fill the box with cash to essentially buy Monero. And then on the other side of it, you'll have the local vendors there that are on a daily basis now accepting Monero. Is a lot of Monero going to come into the marketplace? Probably initially not too much, but we do know from years past with the conference that vendors there have continued to accept Monero past the conference. They told us they earned quite a bit over the years. So there are some people that in Mexico City that when they see a Monero sticker on a vendor, they pay in Monero. So now the hope is that this will happen more often, that all the vendors at Monerotopia that accept Monero would continue to accept Monero, and then they would have a way, there'd be no concern on their end on how to turn it into real money, right? They're not there yet where they understand, all of them. At least some of them are. Some of them have kept every Monero they've earned from day one, actually. Unfortunately, one of them lost a lot of it because he lost his private key. But most of them really see they want physical cash, right? They're not there yet. I think they will get there, but this is kind of a way of bringing them there. But now with this local Monero ATM, they'll always be cash sitting in the box for them to go retrieve and trade their Monero for. And then they will also have XMR Bazaar accounts, right? And we can use XMR Bazaar kind of as the app layer for basically coordinating with the box and eventually boxes around the world, right? Like how cool would it be, like if this could work in Mexico City, why can't we have a box here in New York City, right? At some cafe in Manhattan, right?
Speaking of
Or actually at the bar I forget the name of the bar in Manhattan, the
PubKey.
Bitcoin bar.
PubKey.
Yes, PubKey.
Where's Body, by the way? Is he here?
Body's here. Let's bring him up. Sure. Yeah, go ahead. Get your thoughts out there. I was interrupting you.
No, that was all right. I was just going to say, speaking of cash and trading, we should bring Body up.
Yes. Let's bring Body up. Thank you for keeping the show going, Shortwave. I appreciate that. Let me go ahead and bring him up first, and then we'll run the price report since we tend to chat for 10 minutes and then run price report again. But without further ado, here's Body. Body, are you there?
Yeah.
Like
I've been here for
Body.
half an hour.
How's it going, man? How are you?
Good, man.
So yeah, you want to give us your quick update on the Cubic situation? You've been paying obviously close attention to it.
I would actually say I've been paying super close attention to it, but I'm working on trying to help fix the problem. They did an 18 block reorg. It was in the middle of the night. I think it was like middle of Sunday night or Saturday night. I don't remember. Yeah, not a good thing, but a lot of chatter. DNS checkpointing is now getting very close to being released. And, obviously reorganizing beyond the 10 block lock is a problem, but I don't think it actually really did anything, in terms of really like hurting that many people. I mean, who's really transacting in the middle of night on a Sunday? So, yeah, there's still some contention. It's mostly from Luke. Luke wants to peg. He doesn't want to do DNS checkpointing. He wants to do checkpointing onto Ethereum. Everyone's basically opposed to that idea. I can already see that. The problem is the headlines, right? You can already see the headlines.
I saw you being the most vocal in that regard. I was giving you the thumbs up. Yeah, I mean, it's just the framing of it, right? Even if there's some reasoning to why it could arguably be more secure, right? It's just not going to be a good one.
He's not wrong. This is not something that we can we can't tolerate this in terms of, like, let's just say the news stories. And it's so rare that I ever make decisions on the basis of what I think other people are going to think of me or think of, the project. But in this particular case, we'll never recover that reputation loss if we become a Ethereum vassal layer 2, right? Whatever the stupid headlines are going to be. So we can't tolerate that. And we've used DNS checkpointing before, right? This is something we did when the ASIC battle was still going on before RandomX solved that problem entirely. And my hope is that we're going to do the same thing here. We have to use DNS checkpointing again right now. They call it the Grim Trigger. That's what it's actually, that's what they named it years ago. So yeah, we've hit the Grim Trigger at this point, and this is the way to stop it temporarily. And my hope, I'm reasonably confident, optimistic at least, that we're going to solve this. It's just going to take a few months.
And so Luke is he opposed to the DNS checkpointing, or he just kind of like, listen, if you guys are doing this, then you should definitely be open to considering this, right?
Yeah,
kind of his logic.
He's not opposed to DNS checkpointing. It's kind of like, it's a gray area. He really thinks we should just go with Ethereum. I'm pretty sure that's his viewpoint there. And again, from a decentralization perspective, he's not wrong. And if this was going to be a long-term solution, then maybe he'd be right? Maybe we'd say, hey, actually, it's not a bad thing to peg back to other networks. Like these stupid RandomX CPU mined shitcoins, they should be pegged to Monero. They should be merge mined with Monero to basically join up our security together. That's a better model. And there's a lot of, like, even in a general sense, and I say this a lot, I have said it a lot, in a general sense, the fact that there's so many cryptocurrencies and so many networks, and if you kill one, another's just going to pop up, that kind of decentralization actually confers benefits to all cryptocurrencies in a way. Because it's like, well, why bother? There's just another one's going to pop up. So that's like its own kind of weird decentralization. But if we can solve it with pure proof of work, we should try to do that first.
But Luke's proposal has moved on to the funding stage, right?
Yeah, he complained enough, and he got that into the CSS.
I mean, I'm not opposed to that, right? Like, let's research it, right? Especially if Luke wants to do that, dude. I think we need to let him go do that, right? I think he's proven that he is extremely capable. You know, what he's done with full chain membership proofs. Obviously, it hasn't launched yet, but it seems very real, right? This is not some like vaporware thing. It's happening. He figured it out. Sarai hasn't launched yet, so I can't say as much, you know, but I, you know, have the confidence there, right? From what we're hearing, he's figured out Sarai. He's definitely figured out full chain membership proofs. It's coming to fruition, and here he is. He's got, you know, something else that he's got an itch about that he wants to go explore and work on, you know, for whatever it was, 200 Monero. People are like, oh, it's too much. Like, how do you put a price on that, right? They're like, there's no better use of our resources than doing it for putting it towards somebody like Luke Parker that is motivated to go work on and potentially try to make some breakthrough for Monero, right? That's my take on that.
I mean, I'm all about be free, be open. You know, if he wants to have a CCS and he wants to ask for money to go do research, I'm mostly like, I'm not opposed to that. I don't actually know why. I didn't really pay attention to why that funding was delayed. It is, you know, I mean, he's the kind of guy, it seems like that. I mean, he's like me. When he works on a problem, that's all he's going to do. Like, he's just going to do it for 12 to 16 hours a day. You know, so it's like, it's a high amount that he's asking for, but if you look at the number of hours it'll take, you know, it gets spread out a lot. So it's not quite as high a rate as it would seem like. He's also a young guy and he has talents, right? And those kinds of talents are worth money. So, you know, like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not about the hours, right? Go find another person who could go do this, right? Like,
well, here's the thing. I don't think any proof of stake. So it's not looking like proof of stake is going to be that politically viable. I believe in pursuing multiple paths simultaneously, and I think that we should investigate proof of stake as a backup option. I'm not sure if it's worth 300 Monero to do it. I'm probably personally not going to contribute any money to it, but if other people think it's valuable, then I want other people to be able to fund that. And if that's
it was 200, and then I think he negotiated. It was 200, and I think he negotiated and lowered it to 175 or something.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I had the numbers mixed up there.
Yeah, so
yeah, I don't really pay it. Like, there's kind of drama that happens over there, and it's been more lately, and I don't really get too involved with that. You know.
Yeah. But you know, it's also like, it's just going to funding stage. I mean, people then argue, well, then it inevitably gets funded by the general fund or whatever. So, but I'm in support of his pursuits.
I'd be curious to know the reasons 100%. Why his CCS wasn't merged quickly. You know,
I think it's because of this issue, right? Because people were questioning whether or not they want.
Yeah, it was just too much.
Because proof of stake is, you know, so controversial that, you know, should it even be researched?
Well, there's one thing also that I would think of, that I would consider. So like, Luke figured something out critical with FCMP. Right. And once he did that, he presented it and said, hey, actually, let's work on this. Here's a CCS, right? That builds on the research that I already did. You know, it's not just, hey, maybe I can find an idea. I'm going to go search for an idea. Pay me. It was, hey, I found an idea. This could actually work. Now can you pay me? Right. So there's a slight difference there, right? Funding sort of exploratory research is different than funding a very plausible solution.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. Although I do feel like he feels like he has it figured out, like he has something that he thinks he could figure out here. I think that's like kind of my feel, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's not just going to be a general like, oh, here's theoretical. Like, I do think he would effectively work out his proposed plan, you know, obviously not in great detail, but like effectively figure out the puzzle of how it can be done.
Yeah, I mean, I do think proof of stake is highly viable. I think the detractors of proof of stake, there's a couple, like, Arctic has a couple good criticisms where he says, listen, you could have your nominee, or effectively, you put in simple terms, people put money on the exchanges, and then the exchanges accumulate, or centralized entities accumulate a large stack, and then they end up controlling the proof of stake. So that's a good reason to not have proof of stake as the block generation mechanism. But the finality layer, if they really, like, if the exchanges really wanted to hold our finality layer hostage, we could probably design it so that it's like, well, you can still do transactions without finality. And if they want to hold it hostage, well, they're going to have to pay us off by buying our bags. And the exchanges don't have any fucking Monero anyway. So, you know, at this point, it's kind of like a lose-lose for them. Either they can pump the price by trying to, you know, shut down our finality layer by acquiring real Monero, or they can just not have any effect on our finality layer. So, but my big problem with a finality layer proof of stake is, how do you change the incentive mechanisms? Right now, we have to upset the incentive mechanisms, and that could be as problematic as the problem we're trying to solve. So again, it's my perspective is there are at least 10 plausible proof of work solutions on the table right now. They need to be tested. That's what I'm working on is actually testing them. But we need to try and pursue that path first before really entertaining proof of stake is like at a high level. Although if Luke wants to work on proof of stake and give us a backup option, I'm all about it. Like I'm all about backup options. And who knows, maybe that'll be useful work for like Darkfire or someone else later on down the line. So,
So when do you think we'll see the DNS checkpointing go live?
Fuck, man, I don't know. I'm not involved with any of that testing. I'm not involved. Like I go ping back occasionally to the Monero Research Lab. I check the Wednesday meetings, to see what's going on. But I really, and there's a lot of drama going back and forth a little bit. So guys, I don't know if anyone's listening, but please do not go into the Monero Research Lounge or Lab, either one of them, and just start creating drama. There's no reason for it. If you have to create drama, then fucking go to the Research Lounge, leave the lab alone. It's weird. It's a reverse thing where the lounge has been more useful because everyone's arguing in the lab now. So anyways, whatever.
And then, so when do you go live with your simulator? I
am extremely close to declaring it at a beta ready stage.
Cool.
I've actually done some really, I don't want to, brag on myself or anything, but I did something that was actually quite insightful. There's a number of selfish strategies, and there's a few research papers out there on them. And okay, so, I had the general idea of what selfish mining is, and you could do this, or maybe you could do that, right? But after reading the research papers and really grokking them for like a few days, I was able to come up with a generalization that you can cover the vast majority of the range of selfish behaviors with just two input parameters. And so I generalized that in a mathematical form. So the code is elegant. There's a novel mathematical framework that represents their behavior. It seems to be working at a very, very preliminary stage. I think that I'm reproducing the behavior that we're seeing from Cubic. I even saw in my simulation 18 to 22 block reorganizations in some cases, which is what it looks like they're doing. So at a very preliminary sense,
you're like the new Luke Parker over here.
Now, Luke did true cryptography, right? Like Luke's insights were significant.
Well, maybe you got to start looking at that next. It sounds like it's just a matter of you looking at something. What are the two parameters?
I don't know if you guys know what K is supposed to represent. So K is supposed to be the lead that the selfish miner has over the honest chain, and then the other one is so I call it the K threshold. What is the threshold lead that will trigger a decision point for the selfish miner? And then another one is that I call retort policy. So how do they respond when the honest chain publishes a new block? So if the honest chain publishes one new block, they can either have a 0, a 1, or a 2. 0 means the selfish miner publishes 0 new blocks, right? 0 of their own reserve blocks in response to the honest chain. 1 means that they match the honest chain, and then 2 means that they supersede them. And it just depends on which sort of algorithm you're looking at in these papers. But yeah, looking at the papers, you can see they kind of have these state machines and these Markov decision process, or like they'll have pseudocode or something. And then like just kind of like looking at this for a day or two, I was like, there's got to be an elegant generalization, because I was about to start coding all of these switches like if-then statements, and it was going to get hundreds of lines deep. And I was like, no, that can't be right. And so I'm pretty sure this is good. I wrote like the sort of half academic version of it as a code documentation thing. If there are any like code people out there listening right now, please go to my repo and start looking at it. It's like I said, it's very close to a beta stage. The last thing, there's two major things I need to do. One of them is to write analysis scripts. So I generate high quality data. I don't have any analysis scripts. I've been eyeballing it and doing some like Excel spreadsheet, bullshit to organize that data just to do some checks. And then other thing, sorry, go ahead.
Finish your thought.
The other thing is I need to do sweeps. We need to be able to conduct a signet. We need to be able to change input parameters for both the selfish and the countermeasures and the network parameters. We need to be able to sweep through all those parameters, and it's hard to hand jam it. There's too many combinations. So I need to implement a methodology of doing sweeps through all of the input parameters so that we can generate, 1,000 rounds of combinations, and then find like some kind of minimization criteria, which is usually what you're looking for to find like your ideal spot. So
like, and I think I asked you this last time. So like the work shares proposal, how would this simulator be used to like test that? Just so I can.
Let's see. I don't think work shares would be something I could plug in. It's not a scoring mechanism, so I couldn't plug it to my current unified my unified pool agent. But you could easily write a separate unified pool agent and just reuse a lot of the code that I already have in there. So effectively, what you do is you would copy my pool agent, and then you would just sort of add functions into that agent that defines the behavior. So it's well modularized. It's segregated. You have an API contract. You only have to hand back a few things to the simulation core, which does all of the major processing, all of major physics, if you will.
Very cool. And so then obviously that is the goal, though, right? To test all these different proposals.
Yeah. I want it to be. My hope is that people that come up with ideas will get into my code and say, oh, wow, this is actually pretty easy. I don't actually have to understand the simulation core. I don't have to understand the orchestrator, right, that runs all of the sweeps. I don't have to understand any of that. I just have to copy this one little piece of code, about 200 lines, and then add my own logic into there. So I'm hoping that people will contribute to that. If they don't, I'll probably just do as much as I can, but that just means it's going to take longer, right? But yeah, I mean, the tool is very close to a stage that I would call it beta, where it's accurately doing the network physics, and it's accurately reproducing the selfish behaviors that we're seeing. So at that point, it's like, okay, here's the tool, guys. Please, smart people, go play with this. Yeah, so I would say by this time next week, I'll have it. I'll make some kind of big post and say, hey, it's at a beta stage. Please, everyone, start using it. Hopefully by next week.
Awesome. Maybe you want to present it at Monerotopia.
Yeah, that maybe I would do that.
Present some of the findings and whatnot. Privacy OG tip 25 cents. This is what I was trying to say. We should focus on. This is what I was trying to say. We should focus on proof of work solution options we have on table. There are around 10 possible solutions before turning towards proof of stake. For me, proof of stake system sounds like a traditional bank. It worries me. Yeah, people are worried about it. There's FUD around it. I don't know.
I think I'm exactly on board with that. Just do everything you can to do proof of work first. And if there's really not a viable solution that can be done, then consider the proof of stake idea, but only after everything has been exhausted for proof of work.
Anon tip $2.98. Thanks for doing this great show. Just want to say that the work share idea that Dr. K talked about seems great. I think that's the way to go. Recommend everyone to listen to that. It's Monero Talk episode 361. Yeah, I was highly convinced by that. Like that was the maxi proof of work argument. The kind of the best maxi proof of work argument I ever heard anyone make was Dr. K, and he claims to have the ultimate solution for how to make proof the most ideal form of proof of work using this work shares, and sounded quite convincing. I don't know, Bud, if you have any new thoughts on it. I think you talked about it last week, but that's certainly something that you would consider as a potential solution, right?
It's on the table. It's a little bit difficult in terms of like having to include all those proofs of work in a block. I know that fluffy blocks is supposed to be a way to sort of overcome that problem. It's dicey. I was actually wondering if we could use work shares as the actual finality layer, like have some sort of separate data construct that integrates these work shares, and that the people submitting work shares do attestations to finality. So that was kind of like a fuzzy idea. I pitched it. I wouldn't even say I pitched it. I just I noted it in the Monero Research Lounge. No one really responded to it. Maybe there's something there, but I'll have to think about that when I have more free time.
Well, will we maybe see a finality layer simulation connected to this?
Yeah, I mean, it's pluggable, man. Like it's modular, it's pluggable, it's written in a very functional kind of style.
Wow.
Which effectively means that you separated your data from the transforms and mutations that you do on that data. So it's a little bit foreign for people that have an object orientation, but I kind of hate object orientation. So y'all can hate on me later if you want.
All right. Amazing, man. I don't want to brush over this. Like this is a huge deal, right? This is we should be doing full Monero talks here. And Bawdy is now a high level contributor to Monero.
No, please. I'm an experimental contributor. We'll see if anyone actually finds use out of this thing, right? Like,
all right, well, they should. It
Thank you,
sounds
I
pretty
appreciate
freaking useful. Dilbert tip, $2.98, 0.01 XMR. About web wallets, the important question is who can update the code, how and when. As I understand it, a web wallet can change its code at any time, so the person running the site can change the wallet to become malicious at any time. Good point. I mean, I think there's workarounds around that. I mean, the idea is that the code is being executed locally in your browser. I'm not techie enough to give arguments as to why that's not an issue.
Like a Monero extension, a Monero wallet extension in browsers that would just extremely smooth the ability to use Monero online.
Yeah,
like, that's a factor.
We were talking. I don't know if you heard the conversation trying to build, one into XMR Bazaar.
Yeah, have you talked to God damn it, this guy? I like him a lot. How do I never remember his name? The guy that's working on a JavaScript library.
I don't know who.
He's smart. He pops up every now and then.
No.
One of our guys is working on. He's not like
that's what Anarchio's been used. Yeah, that's what he used, I guess, to create the the escrow, right? I don't know who the dev is though.
I'm gonna, bro. If you're out there, I'm gonna see you again randomly, and then I'm gonna dedicate your name to memory.
Yeah, I think Anarchio has mentioned him a few times actually.
Yeah.
One last XMR chat I want to bring up before you do your price report. Ward's Ace and County Store. What's up, man? Haven't heard from you in a while. Tip 25 cents. How can we contribute to Monerotopia? We have over 7,000 SKUs. I think he means how can we contribute to XMR Bazaar? He's talking about all the items he has in his store.
There is functionality coming to XMR Bazaar at some point. It's on the roadmap to allow you to upload a CSV of your items.
Exactly.
Not CSV. CSV. With like your typical worksheet thing or whatever. So you could just upload your prices and your items into a CSV file, and then you could publish that, and it would automatically be put on the site.
Exactly. And yes, that will allow people to bring in a lot of items, maybe that they're currently posting elsewhere. Maybe they're on eBay or something. That will help them.
Yeah, you
bring
could like bulk import items and bulk change prices and stuff like that. Because right now you can't really do bulk changes to things. You have to kind of do it one at a time, which is slow for somebody with a bunch of items like that.
So yeah, I hope that will solve your problem, and I hope to get that implemented relatively soon. Without further ado, let's run the price report, because we also have Dr. Cap. He's sitting in backstage. Apologies, man, for making you wait there. We'll have you on right after Bawdy. Without further ado, here is the price report.
The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Exolix, a privacy-focused, non-custodial instant crypto exchange. Go to exolix.com to enjoy secure and completely anonymous swaps with no KYC or sign-up. Swap between Monero and 2,000 plus assets at the most competitive rates and with no limits. Exolix.com, your fast and secure way to privacy.
All right, get Bawdy screen up there. We need like another show segment, the pre-price report with Bawdy.
The PPP or the PPR.
Yeah. All right, man, take it away.
Yeah, so we had some good price action this week. A little bit of pump up here to the 350 area. That was nice. That wasn't too surprising. We said, hey, there's some consolidation happening. The market is generally bullish, so it felt like things were maybe getting ready to break out. Let's see. Do you want to expand the charts all the way, Doug? Or shortwave? Do you want to put the?
I don't have control. Only Doug does.
It's up. It's up now. It's up.
No, but do you want to there you go, full screen it? Thanks.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm on a slight delay here. Okay, so yeah, we had some decent price action. Like I said, it wasn't too surprising for us. We when we get positive action, we get these big spikes, and we get negative action, we get big spikes down as well. I was looking at a few more pleb lines here that we could hypothetically try and draw on the Monero chart. Let's see. So I added this guy right here. I don't know how useful that line is. It seems like on the daily chart it's reasonably useful, but you can see, we get these little spikes down below it. But it's you can actually kind of see there's a little bit of we're curling up, if you will, right? The price action here is, I don't know if I'd call it parabolic just yet, but we sort of have had our most recent higher low be even higher than the last higher lows. And I know that sounds retarded, and I am. So what we're talking about here is this guy, right? This line that connected these dots. But you'll notice this low that happened right there was not on this line down here. So this is the kind of things, the kind of schizophrenia that happens when you focus on pleb line analysis. But here we are. So yeah, this higher low actually is a little bit higher than these other lows down here. So that kind of has the feel ever so slightly of going parabolic. It would just be the very beginning of the idea, the thought of maybe going parabolic. So we hit 416, as you guys all know, earlier this year when we had the breakout from the hacks or whatever. Like we said, this was going to happen, the hack, whatever. Something was going to happen, right? That was going to push price up. At this point, everything is so controlled. I don't even know if I believe that, like, was this guy like that had this funds, was he like paid like, hey, move your funds, let's do a quote unquote hack, right? So we can make Monero seem dirty. The price only pumps because dirty hackers use it, right? Like, I'm not saying that's what happened, guys. I don't even think that's a 50% probability. It's probably not even a 30% probability, but these are the kinds of things that go through my mind in a lot of cases. It's like, oh, how convenient is it that it was a hack that pumped Monero? Not that like some like corporate dude or some big name got into Monero. Not that we saw all these people for the past year or so, these big name people getting into Monero, or we'll call them medium name people, right? It was the hack that caused the price.
Taylor Swift put her money in Monero.
Yeah. Or were they just waiting for something, right? We're like, was this a big like holdout time where for almost a year where the cabal is like, try and stop the price, wait for something. Wait, there was a hack. Blame it on Monero. Okay, now we can let the price bump, right? Was it something like that? You have to understand, like, these corporate suits, these scumbag motherfuckers, there's nothing they won't do, right? I've watched them do everything over the years. So my first thought always goes to the kind of frauds they're going to be committing. And I know that that's like, it's not exactly fair, but don't worry, bros. I would never do that to people as an individual. I do that to people associated with corporations and the government, right? Because that's just like, it's warfare, right? It's economic warfare by other means. That's what the corporate environment is. Democracy is warfare, is a proxy for warfare, that kind of stuff. So anyways, right. All right, let's dial it back. We don't have to be so warfare oriented, right? Right now, we got some sunny blue skies in front of us, right? We got the big price pump happen at 350, whatever, and there's a chance, hey, maybe we could go up to 500 here post haste, right? Maybe over the coming 3 months, as crypto enters this kind of swing phase. October is usually a pretty good month. September's a shit month typically for Bitcoin and for crypto. Historically speaking, especially in the bull market, September has been like traditionally kind of a pause month, but maybe October, November, we could see some big gains up here to that 500 area. Right. So the macro is still stable. Things are still looking fine and rosy. So honestly, like, things are good. Things are okay. Monero does have positive price pressure. Positive price pressure. Okay. So right now, you would almost be able to call this an inverse head and shoulders if we wanted to be, we wanted to be degens or whatever, right? We could call it, especially if the next movement here is up, that's extremely positive on the XMR BTC ratio, right? So that's what I would be looking for here, guys. If we want to believe that we're about to make a new breakout relative to Bitcoin, what we want to see is in the next few weeks, we want to see Monero setting a higher high, challenging the upper standard deviation levels here, these orange bands, right? It's a very common pattern, right? You have breakdown, you vacillate, the volatility drops off, right? That's what you're seeing here. And this is a long-term chart. We're looking at the daily candles and we're looking at a time span of about 3-4 years here. So what we want to see is, again, challenging, flirting, hanging out in the upper part of this orange area. So let's, let's delete some of these lines. Let me just Control Z this chart. So we want to see the price action get up here, do something like this, make some peaks above, right? and then do that. Now, that's not the right timeline, but something to that nature is what we want to see. If we want to believe that XMR is going to start rising against Bitcoin, it would be a thing of beauty, honestly, if we saw Monero in a bull market outperforming Bitcoin. And then if we were to enter some kind of like years long flat protracted bear market, or maybe not quite a bear market, just stagnation market, right? So one thing that might actually happen, we could see not so much of a bear market, we could see a stagnation market develop, and it would be along the nature of diminishing returns, right? So like I said before, this bull market we're in is going to be muted. It's not going to be like previous bull markets. It'll be nice. You'll still get your gains, but it's not going to be like the kinds of degenerate fucking 100x shit that we've seen before. But it's still going to be a bull market. So and so by the converse, the bear market's not going to be quite so poignantly, painful for people, just because, we're at $4 trillion here. Total market cap is at $4 trillion. Let's actually go to the total market cap. So this is total 3, but let's just look at total. Yeah, so you can see, basically $4 trillion market cap. $4 trillion battleships don't steer quickly. It takes them time to change course. So that's what's happening here with crypto. But this chart is still bullish, right? So we are still looking at a bullish scenario. Obviously, you can see all of this. We've talked about this for the past weeks, right? You're up here, you're inside the purple bands. Everything is curling up. You're consistently higher lows. You're punching higher. This is perfect. This is exactly the setup that you want to see if you want to see your crypto gains, bros. You want to see exactly this kind of action. This is what the stock market looks like, actually. You set up, you get this nice, gentle, continuous movements towards the top side. Hypothetically, this bull market could extend beyond the traditional winter time point, right? November, December, January, right? That's where we've seen previous topping action happen in previous bull markets. Hypothetically, again, Fed dependent, monetary system dependent, money printer go burr dependency, you could see an extended bull market, guys. Like, you really could see that. So that would actually maybe not be the worst thing. I would rather just have like consistent, steady gains. I'd rather, honestly, I'd rather see crypto calm down. I want to see Monero take its place where it belongs. One thing that we forgot to mention here, Kraken. Kraken reopened their withdrawals. So I guess that was good, right? They were down for like a week, and then it's kind of weird. I have to say, there's this weird coincidence that like within a day or two of Kraken opening their withdrawals again, we started a big upward price movement. So that is another big what the fuck. Again, can I accuse Kraken, say that they were fractionally reserved? I can't accuse them of that. All I can do is say, guys, the behaviors that y'all have displayed recently are not ones that inspire confidence in your reserves, right? And we actually did forget to look at the divergences. Okay, so here's this week. You can see, and this is a percentage on the right side. You can see that the scumbag exchanges relative to Kraken all diverged down -8%, -7%, right around the same time that Kraken was opening withdrawals again. So my guess is that Kraken, I don't know what was happening there, guys. Like, maybe they were really genuinely trying to protect their customers. Maybe it was just an excuse because maybe they were uncertain in a corporate sense because maybe they just don't pay that much attention to Monero. Maybe they were like, well, shit, there's like a reorgs happening. I don't know. Shut it down, right? We'll figure it out in a second. You two people finish your project for the next 2 weeks and then go work on Monero, right? Maybe something like that happened. That's a very plausible explanation. So I don't want to say that they were necessarily, but notice again, eyebrow raising kind of stuff. When Kraken started to open their withdrawals again, all of the scumbag exchanges, and I'm perfectly comfortable with calling these fraudulent scumbag exchanges, they all diverged -8% relative to Kraken's prices, and then we had price pumps happening. So yeah, that's all so dirty. It's all so slimy. Like, the proof is right here, guys. Like, or the evidence, I should at least say, is right here. Like, this kind of thing shouldn't happen in an honest exchange. These kinds of things don't happen. So none of these guys have the XMR. They say that they do. We've talked about that ad nauseum. Let's look at some altcoins. Let's take a look at the Z-scores on the altcoins. FTT somehow bringing up, pumping bigly. So if any of you FTT holders are out there, we knew this was going to happen. This was eventually going to happen. FTT was eventually going to pump. they're probably never going to relaunch the Sam Bankman fraud exchange, whatever. They're probably never going to relaunch that, but somehow FTT is still a thing. AVAX also pumping lately. AVAX being an overperformer, and obviously XMR here, as we know, pumped here this past week. So starting to almost get into the pack range here. We're still at the bottom of the pack range. Again, it's a bull market. Don't be surprised at that. They don't want you buying Monero. They want you buying the shitcoins they printed from nothing. Take a look here at the Bitcoin dominance is dropping, and as we've said, this makes sense, right? This is what you expect in a bull market. It's actually a sign that we are in a bull market. We're getting our alt season again. This is going to be a sort of meandering alt season, a light, dainty alt season. It will go towards the downside, and you're going to get your altcoin gains, but don't expect them to come fast and hard like they used to. Some of them will, right? Some of them are going to pump. You're going to get your 10x here and there. It's going to be really hard to find your 100xers, and your 1000xers are going to be extremely difficult to find. Like those are just like getting 1000x's. I mean, it's insane to get 1000x anyways. And here's another thing. I know that there's some of you probably out there that play with the meme coins, right? You get on Solana and you're like, I just got a 10x. Like, yeah, okay, you did get a 10x, bro, but on a no liquidity coin, how are you going to get out without crushing the price, right? Or you got a 100x, right? How are you going to get out without crushing the price? You're not, right? So you have to understand that, like, when you're playing, the moment that your stack that you're playing with starts to become a significant portion of the liquidity of that market, you have less money than you think you do. So, but the other thing too, it's like, listen, if you're at the level that you're playing with a small enough amount that you can get in and out of these shit coins. So, all right, here, this is like, I don't know, brotherly advice time. If your financial situation is at the level where you, one of two things, are either have the time to invest a significant portion of money in a whole bunch of shit coins, a small amount, and a whole bunch of these shit meme coins to try and catch those 5 and 10x and 100xers, and get in and out on that meme coin space. Or you're not playing with a very big amount of money and you're hoping to catch some meme coin to 100x or whatever, and then, and get out. Your time is better spent doing something else, gaining real skills, doing something that will earn you money in the real world, as opposed to trying to degenerately gamble on meme coins. Like, it's really just that simple. Like, if you have big money, then you don't invest in meme coins because you know that you can't get in and out of those things without like crushing the price against you and having to play weird games. Or maybe you're smart enough that you do bot analysis and you have a bot trade all that shit. Okay, then you're at another level. Sure enough, fine. Except for that narrow side case. If you have a lot of money, you're invested in stuff that has the liquidity to support your ability to get in and out, right? If you're trading endeavors. If you don't have a big stack, then you should be doing other things to gain a legal tender, in the words of John Travolta. You have no legal tender, Jules. Okay, so anyways, going back to crypto. So that was just like a side trail there. Like, it's one thing to occasionally throw some money at some stupid shit. It's another to think that like you should focus a lot of time and energy and effort in that system. Very few people are going to be good at blackjack and counting cards and playing poker and winning that game, right? It's not an easy game to win. So, and the crypto shit coins are no exception. The only thing you could hope to do is to become an issuer yourself, but even the issuer space is starting to get saturated with normies, and that's also been consolidated to some large degree of people controlling that ecosystem as well, right? The big names that tell you what to go buy and they push the stuff, and it's a social competition to get on the radar of the big accounts. That probably those big accounts are fucking owned by the suits themselves. So, anyways, sorry, that's a long enough. It's quite a lot of shit coins. All right, so here we have Ethereum. Ethereum is pumped up to some new all-time highs and has been since consolidating at that level. This is fine. At some point, you're going to want to see a renewed move to the upside here. That will probably happen because look what happened. Looky what the Fed did. Fed dropped rates by 0.25% this week. So this means two things: gains and eventually crash. That's what this means. Traditionally speaking, so the Fed, they dropped their rates. They flat, we had a flat period of time, and now rates are coming down again. This is a continuation of that pattern that we've talked about since forever, right? The Fed raises rates, flat tops, the markets rise. They drop rates, the markets rise. somewhere the crisis unfolds, and then they have to drop rates massively, close to zero. So they know what's happening. Everybody knows what's happening. There's still more juice to squeeze from this. This is not the macro falling out from under our feet. This is not the rug on the macro just yet. It is in fact just normal action. The macro stuff is fine. Oil is flirting with those lower boundaries that we said, hey, this could be a problem if it starts getting below that 60, 61 area. For now, oil is currently at 62.35. It's fine, right? This is still stable enough. Got to keep an eye on this. Again, it's a slow moving chart. It looks like it's about to do something, and then they hang on for dear life, and then they do some like crazy thing to spike it, like, oh, look, everything's fine. But you can actually see the trend on this chart is very clear, right? You've got these falling, the lower highs all the way down. So they were able to save the whole macro crash. They did it in a social means. It was insane to actually watch how they didn't actually change any of the macro fundamentals. They just changed the social nature of it by whipsawing the markets. Anyway, so they backstopped the market. They delayed everything. That's fine. And so they're going to do that more here. What I'm saying all that to tell you that this is probably not just going to post haste breakdown, right? They're going to do this kind of thing, before it actually breaks down again. So maybe that will be towards the end of the year. More likely that will be next year at some point. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Again, oil is kind of like our alpha. It's the thing we're looking at now. All of the other stuff has been analyzed and observed to the nth degree, and the process of observation has changed the market. If you believe in all that quantum voodoo. Reverse repos here down at like $11 billion. They mean nothing now. It's basically irrelevant. That might as well be zero. Dollar index is also stable. Again, we expected this to be stable. This is a long-term bottoming pattern. Knowing the way that currency markets move, we're probably actually going to end up at these orange lines down here at some point. It might not be for long. It'll probably just break down for a moment, only to come back up. And that could actually be a big signal, right? If we break down, touch these lines, and then spike back into this range, I'll probably take that as the entrance into the next monetary crisis. So for now, it's fine. Nothing to worry about there. Anything else we care about? Obviously, gold. Gold is doing quite well, consolidating here after another big move up. This purple line that I've drawn is the representation of those statistical levels. Honestly, like, maybe my models are all going to be broken, just like all the laser eyes tell us. But for gold, not even for Bitcoin. My model for Bitcoin is solid. It's not going to get broken anytime soon. But gold, my model for gold might actually be in the process of breaking down. This is something, right? So I wouldn't expect this to smash to the 4,000 level soon by any means. This is also the 2-hour chart, right? Let's go to the daily chart. I wouldn't expect gold to just smash up to 4,000 here anytime soon, but this chart is just unequivocally bullish. Like, just the fact that it's breaking through these levels and holding them tells me it is a sign that something fundamentally is driving the gold price, and that's actually a good sign, right? That's the fundamental driver of price, is the thing you want to see. And so that's yet another good reason to pay attention to the statistics, because statistics tell you about steady state. They tell you about, the general model of the market. They tell you about, boundary conditions and stuff like that. So when your statistics start to act wonky, that's not things breaking. That's your statistics telling you what you wanted to know. Has something fundamentally changed with this process? And in this case, it's starting to look like something is fundamentally different with gold as a process, as a market force, as an economic process. Something different is going on here. So this is a signal to us, right? It doesn't say, oh, statistics doesn't work. Ha, bro, your models are broken. No, you just didn't know how to use them, right? Now we know. We're looking at this, and as this unfolds more, we say, hey, this is a sign that something important is happening in gold. And that tells us stay in gold. Don't sell your gold, right? And you'll notice that I even told you guys when we hit this level, I said, yeah, my model would normally say to sell my gold, but I just can't think of anything else that I want to buy right now. So I'm just going to stay in gold. And that was a good decision, right? So anyways, it's just using the tapestry of nebulous information that exists in the ether, for us to coalesce some kind of vision of the market and what's happening, right? Think architecturally, think large, think big. Don't think autistically, or at least don't think autistically for too long. Sometimes you have to dive deep. Okay, so that's macro. Stocks are performing. Last week we made the prediction that stocks were going to get back into this channel here, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And Nasdaq is now inside of this this very long-term channel that goes back years and years and years. Really, just goes back to the bull market, the current instantiation of the bull market. That happened after the bear market, the 2022 bottom, and then sort of established these long channels. And yeah, this is where you should expect the Nasdaq to channel now. So if you own tech stocks, if you own I don't know, AI companies and Nvidia and other GPU silicon companies, right? Those are national defense stocks at this point now. Actually, here's Nvidia. What's funny is Nvidia hasn't actually been performing that great lately. I mean, yeah, it's performing just fine in the sense that it's maintaining its top level, but it hasn't been following up with the rest of tech stocks. So, but this thing is probably going to break out to the upside at some point. So anyways, if you own Nvidia, I don't know. Same thing with the S&P 500, right? It's the same exact story. So probably don't have too many stock bros in here, but yeah, that's just for your edification. There's nothing else here that happened. The civilian unemployment ticked up like we talked about a couple weeks ago, but we don't get new numbers until October. M2 is going to continue rising, obviously. Probably at some point, velocity, maybe this will kick up. Again, I don't know. Inflation still seems to be a little slightly high, but I guess the Fed is comfortable lowering rates. The fact that inflation hasn't hit their 2% target and that they raised rates anyways tells you that something is not good, right? They shouldn't be lowering rates right here. They wouldn't lower rates unless they felt that there was some kind of danger looming that needed to be addressed.
Well, didn't they abandon their basically 2% rate thing at Jackson Hole?
Oh shit, you're right. They did do that. Maybe I should go read those documents. Yeah, because that of course they would, if they wanted to lower rates, they would have to prepare that, right? They'd have to prepare that in advance and say, oh well, actually 2% it's not a big deal. We could do something like 3 now. Just depends. We're data driven. Data driven for what, Rose? What data are you trying to drive towards? Anyways, yeah, so that thank you for pointing that out. Very astute, shortwave. So yeah, they lowered rates by 0.25%, which if their mandate for inflation targets mattered, they wouldn't have lowered rates. So that makes sense that they had to sweep that under the wayside. But again, critically, it tells us that not all is well. Right? Things are not, this is the fact that they lowered rates here in the midst of 3% inflation is not a good sign. They shouldn't be doing that. So it means that they're doing it because they feel like there's some reason that they have to. So that's how I would probably interpret that. So that's pretty much it. Let's check the comments, make sure I didn't have any questions here. Nope, we got the work shares. We got some people like and retweet. Yes, smash the like, smash it, or gently press it. Whatever suits your fancy. And with, oh, you know what? How do I always forget this? I always put it right here. It's the first thing. It's before we get to the price. How do I always, anyways, Monero hash rate. So we dipped down for a while, and then isn't it suspicious that the 18 block reorg happened and now hash rate is back up? So here's what probably happened. They pulled maybe fucking Pubic, maybe they pulled their hash rate and then started just pure silent mining, waiting for the difficulty to readjust lower this entire time, looking for reorgs, failing, and then they found one. I don't know, right? That's a possibility. I really do need to go do some more modeling. Now that I have the selfish case fully generalized and all that extra stuff we talked about, I need to create the data analysis tools to really analyze what's happening without just scrolling with my eyeballs. So hopefully I can regenerate some of these behaviors. But anyways, the Monero hash rate back up to 5.5 gigas. Probably that's a factor of Cubic coming back online to mine Monero again in a selfish sense. I don't know. And then Monero transactions. I don't know why I have all these other ones here. These are fake transactions, guys. Quote me on that. Hate me for it. Say what you want. Litecoin is not doing 200,000 transactions per day in an honest sense. Monero is currently doing about 25,000. Oh, we spiked up a little bit. Yeah, okay. 25,000. That's been our average. 25,000 transactions per day. That's about 33 transactions per block. I didn't say 33 just because that's my degree of anarchy or because of the Illuminati. That just happens to be how the math works out, I'm pretty sure. All right. Enough nonsense talk. That's it, guys. That's all I got for you. I'm going to hand it back to you guys. Doug and Shortwave.
Alrighty. Thank you, Bawdy, so much.
Of course. My pleasure.
Yeah, any super chat? No, you went over. Yeah, no super chats. Okay. All right, man. We will keep things moving. I know we have Dr. Cap waiting here in the back. Bawdy, man, stick around, obviously, if you can. Otherwise, adios.
All right. Thanks, man.
And I will go ahead and play the guest segment. Bada beep, bada boop.
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
Alrighty, Dr. Cap.
Hey, oh, my audio on?
Yes, your audio is on.
Great.
We can hear you loud and clear. How you doing, man?
I'm good, Doug. Yeah, it's good to see you again. It's been a long time, actually. Just realized.
When was the last time you had you on? I don't know. I guess maybe like a year? I don't even know, man. I can't keep track.
It was basically a year ago. I think we kind of gave
right before
an
the
update.
conference.
Yeah, it was right before the conference. I was actually really keen. I was pretty much looking at every possible way to get there. And I was basically, the short of this is wife, 1 year old, and we literally tried and looked at every potential logistics to this, and it just couldn't work out. So I had to send Felix in my place. So that was the short of it. My kid's a bit older now.
All right.
Approaching 2, which is great. I'm kind of halfway. I'm glad he's downstairs. I've got the mother-in-law and my missus downstairs.
Okay.
And I'm just kind of like, it's so good. He's not yet run in, waving his arms, going, ah! Which has been, I was like, is that going to be a thing? I don't think so. So
yeah, I have a 9-month-old now. She's not in the room with us right now. She's often in the background now on these shows.
Yeah.
So awesome, man. Right? It's as good as it gets. Yeah, obviously we'd love to have you this year. You have some time now. It's not until February. I know a lot of schools are off during that, at least here in the U.S., a lot of schools are off during that time. Well, obviously 2 years old, you're not worried about that. But, yeah, I'm hoping people bring their kids. People brought some kids last year. There's some babies there. There were some kids. So I want to keep building that up. It adds a nice element, right? And it's important, right? Like, we're not here to just talk among ourselves, right? We want the next generation to pick up where we left off, right? So I know I bring my 11-year-old. I brought her to Pork Fest a couple of times now. For Monerotopia, I hope she doesn't mind. I guess I'll announce it now. She'll be creating the wristbands that that everybody will get to identify that they're part of the conference or they're VIP. So she is accepting Monero. I'm paying her in Monero, and she is hand making all the bracelets.
Oh, nice.
So she's excited about that. I think she prefers goldbacks, but she'll take Monero. So actually goldback she was a little unsure about now, because she's like, how do I turn it into cash? But like Monero, she's understanding that it's actually quite easy to. We showed her Cake Wallet. We showed her that you could buy, worst case, you could buy some gift cards if you want to get out. So yeah, I think it's important to get the kids involved.
It's funny that Monero is actually a lot more liquid than gold, even though the narrative around gold and the history and the culture is so much that there's just so much stronger in the sense that there's so much history there. When you actually look at the raw kind of metrics of the raw idea of how do you actually use Monero, it's much more straightforward.
Right.
Especially things. Yeah.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, especially things like the marketplaces, right? You could actually go buy things peer to peer with it.
Exactly. I mean, like, are you going to exchange your gold ETF and then wait for the delivery of your physical gold and then take the tiniest sliver shavings? There you go. I'll take that banana.
Yeah. The other major difference I see that people don't often talk about much is just the inability to really counterfeit Monero, right? It's like very hard to counterfeit crypto. I always tell people, this is, especially when I'm talking to noobs, try to explain that concept, right? Like if somebody came up to you right now and it was whatever buying your home, but you had to buy it on the spot, and there was a briefcase filled with $1 million in $100 bills. There's a little pile of gold, or I can send you a Monero transaction. You only have 30 seconds to decide, and I'm walking away. Which one are you taking? You'd be a fool not to take the Monero, right? Just because when you see it in your wallet received, it is in fact real Monero. It's much easier to counterfeit cash. Obviously, gold too, right? Like it's not there's pretty good ways of determining, but Monero is very hard to counterfeit.
Got a thing that says that Dr. Cap's camera or background is flipped, so you might want to take a look at that if that's the case.
Oh yeah, that is
right.
true.
So okay, maybe I better just change the background then. You don't mind if I just do that, or how does it look? Because on my thing it looks okay. Like BasicSwap reads the right way around. Does it read the right way around to you guys?
No, it's reading backwards. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, that is weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you? Oh, I don't know how to edit the background right now. I feel like under so much pressure.
If anything, it's forcing more people to look at it, right? I mean, it might have the marketing effect you're going for.
Fair enough. That was completely unintentional. Actually, if you give me all of 30 seconds, I will flip it right back. Okay, so let me say when I was uploading the thing onto StreamYard, it basically looks flipped for me. So I was like, I had to create a very quick flipped version of it.
Oh,
but don't worry.
So it actually,
I think we will.
Okay, you.
On my camera end, it looks completely flipped over. Oh well, and there you go. Now I've lost. But hang on, just to say, I feel so hapless right now as I do this.
It's all right. It's all right. Take your time. Take your time. I'll fill the space. I'll fill the space.
No pressure. No pressure. There you go. Does that look better?
Bam! It was worth it.
Cool. Excellent. All right. Oh, wait, what
hopefully we do see you down there. I know. Yeah, you guys have participated in at least the last two Monerotopias, right? Just the Mexico. You weren't at the Miami one.
No, we weren't.
No.
Was that a Miami one?
No, I think you were just the first one was in Miami.
Oh no, we weren't at that one. So we were at the second the Mexico and Mexico again.
Yeah, and you've been a big part of that. We've greatly appreciated your support, and I think it's worked out, helped BasicSwap as well, right? I mean, there was we helped get the word out. A lot of people didn't really, in the beginning, right? People were excited about atomic swaps and all these things, not ignoring BasicSwap, which is a pretty effective way to get in and out of Monero to other cryptos. And it's, I don't think any longer overlooked, but it's...
No, let me give credit to you guys where it's due. We were on the verge of not existing if it wasn't for you guys. So, I think a direct consequence wasn't just the raising of our profile, getting onto Monerotopia. The first time we came, we were unknown. The second time we came, we were accepted. So that was the most immediate difference. But even between the first and the second time, it drew eyes onto our project from members of your community. And that really helped build up support from members of the Monero community. The funding proposal from Ofrnxmr, that helped us out in a massive way to accelerate the development and improve the core underlying stability of BasicSwap DEX and to improve the functionality. So at the end of the day, BasicSwap DEX as it is would not be where we are today if it was not for Monerotopia and Monerotalk. That is simple.
Awesome, man.
So respect where it's due.
Hey Doug, apparently Ofrn is going to be coming on as well. If you want to bring him up when he comes on, I don't know if you want to or not.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can bring him on at the end. I mean, I would like to just have him as a guest. Do a full guest segment, but if he wants to jump up today, he's more than happy to. Dr. Cap, you want to give us the rundown of where things are at?
Yeah, I think we've kind of, with Ofrnxmr's proposal, we've done a lot of the milestones, and we're continuing to kind of finish those up. Now, in terms of that sort of last year, I think the biggest material change has been the integration of automated market maker tools within BasicSwap. So just to give a rundown for anyone who doesn't know what BasicSwap is, it's a decentralized exchange. It's an atomic swap DEX, and it's one of the few atomic swap DEXs that supports being both a maker and taker for Monero atomic swaps. The underlying architecture supports multiple layers of privacy. So you've got at the base layer the SMSG messaging protocol, and that's an end-to-end encrypted messaging protocol and service that runs on a number of nodes. So the BasicSwap network itself is essentially a peer-to-peer node network with the SMSG protocol acting as the encrypted messaging layer. That encrypted messaging layer is used to send the messages back and forth between the nodes to create a fully decentralized distributed order book. It also serves to transmit the messages back and forth between the nodes, i.e. the participants in the BasicSwap network, to enable atomic swaps to occur. The atomic swaps themselves, well, we support Monero atomic swaps because we utilize adapter signatures instead of the traditional HTLC model. And adapter signatures provide a nice additional layer of privacy because the HTLC method of atomic swaps can leave timestamps that can be traceable by chain analysis and other third-party analytics tools, whereas the adapter signature method kind of breaks that. So it makes it harder for third parties to analyze and see that swaps have actually occurred. Never mind that, the participants in the network, because all the messaging is encrypted, you don't have to worry about being spied on. So provided you're using BasicSwap to swap privacy coins, you're not getting just the privacy level from the privacy coins themselves, but you're getting 3 layers of privacy at that messaging layer, from the adapter signatures and from the privacy coins themselves. So that's a brief summary. And kind of going back to where we were, BasicSwap as it is currently, I keep thinking, should I call it BasicSwap Power version, BasicSwap Home Edition, because you basically, it encapsulates both the strengths and the weaknesses of the current version, which is that you kind of have to run it from home. You're downloading the software, you're effectively setting up a node that runs 24/7 like a server, and it stays running like that so that it can receive and send messages to other nodes on the BasicSwap network. So that's a strength in that you are fully in control of the funds, you're fully in control of how you're participating, the network remains fully decentralized, you get access to all those benefits of security and privacy that I've kind of mentioned. But some of the cons are you kind of have to have the technical expertise to kind of set it up and leave it, and you have to have the hassle of leaving it running 24/7, and you have to then download and sync entire blockchains for the coins that you wish to swap. So those create barriers.
I was actually just about to ask that if there was a way that you guys had figured out to not have to do that entire thing, or like download maybe like last week's worth or a month's worth of blocks from each chain or something like that, so you don't have to pull your storage for Litecoin and Monero and Bitcoin and all those other ones.
Yeah, so this is actually what we're getting to. So this is us kind of laying out, we know what the problems are in terms of the road to mass adoption for this. So we know exactly who would this to in its current form, and we understand the limitations of how to make that grow as a network. Now, in terms of, answering your question, we are currently working on reports so you don't have to download the entire chains. So that is part of a broader strategy of things to basically enable So actually, I'll cut to the chase. What we're basically trying to do, and actually what we figured out what to do, is to get BasicSwap working on mobile phones and websites in a way that preserves all of the security, all of the privacy benefits, and most of the decentralization benefits as well. And as you mentioned, one of those technical challenges is, well, if I want to run BasicSwap DEX as a swap cert on my mobile phone, do I have to download entire chains? Well, at the moment, yes, but part of what we're doing is getting light wallet support to reduce the need for that. And that's something that can also be implemented into the home version. Sorry, does that answer the question?
I think so. That sounds exciting.
Okay, so that's one of the things. by the way.
How far off do you think that is? Where you're on your smartphone, essentially using BasicSwap.
So I'm looking for the middle of next year, so mid 2026. We're actually already part of the way there. So in terms of what we've done, or what's already been done, is we've had integration of automated market making features into the GUI of the home version of BasicSwap. So now when you run BasicSwap, you can literally have a set it and forget it mode where you basically choose the coins you wish to trade, set your max min parameters, and it will just trade against the market, as it were, on your behalf. It'll execute the trades. So you can automate that process. So we've basically built a version that is much more friendlier to people who want to act as market makers to provide liquidity for BasicSwap. And that's really, I think that's primarily, the main use case for BasicSwap Home is for market makers. And that's what we're kind of optimizing it for now. But in terms of getting it to mobile, the challenges that we have to solve are, well, how do you get this DEX onto mobile phones, but not have to download all the blockchains, not have to sync all the blockchains, and not have to keep the application running all the time. So because that's what you have to do with the home version. It needs to stay running in order for messages to be received and sent. And if they don't, then you don't send the messages back and forth for the atomic swap sequence to complete, so then the swaps don't occur, or you don't see orders on your order book because you're not receiving the messages for them. So how do we get rid of the requirements for persistence and storage to make this work on mobile? Well, there's a couple of solutions. By the way, if at any point you want to stop me, just tell me to stop.
No, this is good. This is good stuff. I want to throw you an idea, but I'm sure that you've thought about. But go ahead, keep going.
No, so the solutions we basically had. So the other thing without jumping around too much. So the basic solutions they're all possible because it is possible to port BasicSwap DEX from home to mobile platforms because of the underlying messaging layer, which is the SMSG protocol. Now, what that basically means is. So I'm about to lose myself here, and I don't want to. Because it is a messaging layer, basically the things you can do are, with the atomic swaps themselves, if you look at what an atomic swap is, it is just a sequence of messages. It's a sequence of step-by-step instructions that then result in a direct swap occurring between two participants. Now, in order for those instructions to complete, you need a messaging layer. So that's the function that the SMSG protocol serves for this. Now, what you can do is, because it can store messages of any sort of given length, you can actually bundle up all of those steps into a template, essentially a template contract. So, and then you can kind of have the maker kind of pre-sign that contract. And so if there's an appropriate taker that says, oh, I like the look of this particular contract, it's basically an offer on the order book. The taker just signs it on there, and it triggers an automated execution of all the steps. So if you basically create these pre-signed templates if you basically restructure the offers on the order book to follow that sort of template format, then actually you've got this way to go, well, the only time you need to keep the application running on a mobile is when you actually sign as a taker. And this creates the limitation for mobile users because they can't act as makers. They can't post offers. They can only take offers that are on the order books because they're essentially signing one half of a contract that's already been signed by the other half, as it were. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. I'm thinking too. I mean, would some solutions potentially come with being integrated into something like Cake Wallet? So maybe then you're relying on them.
So we actually have, I'm not going to, so this is interesting. So BasicSwap Mobile will launch as a mobile swap service that will be integrated into wallet partners. We have one wallet partner lined up that I can announce publicly and 3 others that, out of respect to them, I won't. But I can assure you that those 3 other partners would be more than happy to have BasicSwap mobile integrated into their services. We've had the backdoor discussions with them, and kind of they verbally said, yeah, we get it. We think this is a great idea. It's a great fit. It's in alignment with our values. We can see exactly what you're doing. We understand how this benefits us, and we can make this work. So yeah, we do have 4 potential integration partners. The one I can announce, ironically, I know you just slagged them off about 10 minutes ago, but it was Litecoin. So, it's Litecoin. Litecoin's actually going to be one of our first integration partners. So the Litecoin
so their
Nexus,
wallet?
Their wallet.
Okay.
So they have the Nexus wallet. So we can publicly announce this because we actually already did at the Litecoin Summit in 2025. So I was able to get around to Las Vegas to do this. So a lot of what we've been doing, if you look outside of the development framework, there's this whole team of people that
that could become a good way to move Litecoin into Monero, right?
Yes. So this is that. I'm not going to confirm, but I think they're very much. My understanding is they're open to it. They're actually cool with it. A lot of the people at that summit really like the fact that we support Monero. I'm not going to name names. They're actually really cool with the fact that we've done that. So, and they know that Monero and Litecoin are the most used pairs on BasicSwap. So they're actually absolutely fine with that. And also the Litecoin community, they're actually really big, as in the Litecoin, if you look at the Litecoin higher-ups, massive fans of privacy. That's why they deployed, they've got Mimblewimble support now for Litecoin. Now, I'm not going to argue the benefits, pros and cons of one privacy protocol versus the other. All I'm here to say is they are supporters of privacy, which is why we have a good alignment with them. And you're absolutely right, having a service where you could, so it's the Nexus wallet, which is Litecoin's own official wallet. And that's a, Litecoin Foundation's kind of officially supported wallet for holding your Litecoin. That's the Nexus wallet. So we will be integrating BasicSwap DEX into that as a swap service that's taker only. And it will be a swap service where on your mobile phone, you don't have to download and sync blockchains. You don't need to leave it running all the time. You just need to open up that wallet, go to that swap service, and basically pick the offers you want to take. And we're actually able to do that in a manner where we can offer a better rate than I think. I'm not going to argue about monetization, but I think we can offer a better service that's more competitive and definitely more secure and more private and fully non-custodian compared to traditional centralized swap services. So that's essentially what we're deploying. With traditional centralized swap services, you hand your money over to a third party that you have to trust. You have to trust that they're going to manage those funds responsibly. You don't have to trust that they don't get hacked. You're going to have to trust that they don't freeze your funds for whatever reason. And then you're going to have to trust that they'll give you the best rates and actually execute the trades on your behalf. With us, you don't have to trust us because the system is inherently trustworthy. You retain full control of your funds because they're always on your wallet. It's an atomic swap. That's the nature of it. You retain the full benefits of privacy because that swap service uses all the underlying architecture of BasicSwap. You retain all the security benefits because it's using all the underlying architecture of BasicSwap, and it remains fully non-custodian. And you get pretty much all of the decentralization benefits as well. They only say I put the asterisks in because to get BasicSwap as a mobile service to interact with the BasicSwap network, you'll need to use an API. So if you want to get really technical, that in itself, an API is an area of potential centralization, but that is the minimum. That is the one trade-off. Does that kind of make sense?
Can the API be run on like your home node? So like if somebody is going to have this at home, can they run the API on their home node and connect their mobile to it over like a Tor hidden service or something?
So I would like. This is a really good question. I haven't. You know what? I'm going to actually speak to the devs and see if this is something we could do. I know. Yeah. I think.
We'll be. Looks like
actually, it's a really good question. Yeah.
Ofrn is going to come up, so he might have some insight into that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, is Ofrn coming up?
I could bring him up. Yeah, I wanted to,
Yeah,
let you say your things first, and then we'll bring him up.
No, that wasn't actually under our consideration, but actually that's a really good suggestion, and it's definitely something I want to feed back to the team.
Awesome. Yeah. Anything else you want to get out there, and then I'll bring Ofrn up. We'd love to get your take on the proof of work versus proof of stake thing. We could do that when Ofrn is up. We'd like to get his take as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything else?
I mean, I think in terms of the updates, I think we've improved the scalability of our architecture in preparation for mobile. So all of our current roadmap, if you go to our website and kind of look at it and look at our development, every feature not only improves the home experience, but is geared towards kind of enabling and making this mobile swap service available. One of the features we've done now is something called multi-net support. So the SMSG messaging protocol can now not operate just on the SMSG messaging network, but on other messaging networks. So like Telegram's messaging network, or Elements messaging network, or NIM's messaging network. So in that way, you can the network can scale as it grows and as demand grows, because it's demand on a messaging service. Each service has its throughput. So you can kind of switch these messages between different networks, as it were, and that's going to help with general scalability. But yeah, like I said, we're doing a lot of work in terms of making this work for mobile phones so that your granny can basically at least use it as a casual swap service. Yeah, that's what I want to say. Oh, and the last thing I want to say is in relation to the Litecoin wallet, the Nexus wallet, there is a crowd raise related to that. And I appreciate some of the Monero community may well go, oh, it's Litecoin, all right, no. But what I'm basically going to say to you is anyone who helps to fund that crowd raise, it's actually helping our roadmap in relation to this, which helps our roadmap in relation to every single integration that we do on mobile. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
I encourage
people to consider supporting that for sure. I mean, but like I said, BasicSwap, we don't have a lot of options right now, right? We have some theoretical ones, Sarai Dex. We've all been waiting for that. We have Havino, which is great. BasicSwap is one that exists right now that works, and that they're excited to improve it and evolve it towards what it needs to be so that it could be as usable as an instant exchange on your Cake wallet or your Edge wallet, right? So totally support that initiative, because that's just going to help more people get into Monero in a KYC free way, in the best way possible, right? Doing atomic swaps from whatever it is, Litecoin to Monero. Extremely important that we have these bridges. So highly recommend people consider supporting it for sure.
Yeah. Like I said, if you support this, it is going to help the liquidity for Monero. It is going to make Monero much more accessible, much easier to buy, trade, and spend with, and it's going to be much more secure because you'll be doing it on a decentralized network that is truly censorship proof. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have to worry about exchange delistings or,
Right. We just saw TradeOgre go down, right? Like, took a lot of people's crypto with them. Not your keys, not your coins, whatever. People just do what's easy and simple and user-friendly. So people tended to just start using it, overusing it, forgetting that there's risk involved, and bam, they get rugged by the Canadian government.
I'm sitting here.
Go ahead.
I'm sitting here thinking on XMR Bazaar, you can atomic swap Monero for pizza.
There you go. But yeah, let me go ahead and bring Ofrn up. Bring him up. So where do people go? Where is this fundraiser happening?
So you can literally Google Litecoin BasicSwap, but I've just posted the link in the private chat. If you're happy to just share the link on your channels after, it's litecoin.com/projects/BasicSwap, and you can crowdfund it. You can use multiple currencies, including cryptocurrency. I did look. I was really annoyed to find out that you can't send Monero directly to it, but you can send Zcash. I am going to slightly rag on Zcash for that. That's me having fun.
Maybe you want to do like yeah, okay. Yeah, that's annoying.
But that it is annoying, but honestly, like it's a good initiative to support. It will help us kind of get there, and it goes back. You know what you guys were saying about fractional banking and fractional reserve exchanges. I mean, you don't have to worry about that service on. You don't have to worry about that on BasicSwap. That's just not a thing that's possible because of the nature of that service. So we could have a widespread, fully decentralized exchange network with no risk of censorship, no risk of fractional banking, no risk of any of this BS that you currently have to deal with, that is highly liquid, highly scalable, extremely accessible to the mainstream, and very easy to promote. And before I finish, I'm really impressed with the work you guys have done on XML Bazaar over the last year, and I've been keeping eyes on it. You've done a great job of promoting it and building up the inventory on it. I'm really proud of you guys. If we can get this onto mobile, that underlying architecture, I believe, could be used to help bring XML Bazaar to mobile as well and make it decentralized. So that is something to keep in mind for the future.
Awesome. And this is why you need to come to Monerotopia so we could all hang out, right? Thank you again. Yeah, very excited. Thank you again. And I do hope you can make it over there this year. You've been a tremendous supporter in the past, so we greatly appreciate everything you guys have done to support us. And we're big supporters of BasicSwap over here. So thank you, man. And then obviously stick around. I'm bringing Ofrn up right now. You know what? Let me go ahead and run the guest segment again because our sponsor, Cake Wallet, certainly deserves it. So our second special guest of the day.
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
All right, Ofrn, man, what's going on?
Not much. Thank you for the entrance music.
You need your own song, right? We need a special anthem just for you. I never know when you're going to show up, man. I wanted you to do a Monero talk, but I got to take you when I could get you. So thanks for jumping up.
It's not just that it's busy, that I'm like busy or whatever. It's just this everything's a little chaotic. Body knows what I mean. It's everything's up and then down and then sideways. Long nights.
The devs are in the trenches right now, so I respect that, right?
It's hard to make any concrete statements on anything. Like if we're talking about when DNS checkpoints are going to deploy, we were thinking in the next couple of days, but then we did a little test yesterday and found an issue. So, back to the drawing board to figure out how to, because we can't just deploy it and then have the cure be worse than the cancer.
For sure. Right. But obviously DNS checkpointing is still looking like it's got legs and will be what we use in the interim.
Yeah. No, what basically we deployed them on testnet, on the actual live testnet, and I went and I decided to practice selfish mining and see if I could break it, and I broke it in a couple minutes, and so that wasn't great.
That's not good. No bueno. But at least you realized it, right?
Yeah, right. Because we did. We were testing for a couple weeks before that, but missed this one edge case. So now we've got a couple guys looking into it, trying to fix it. It's not a big issue. Well, it's a big issue if it was to happen on mainnet, but it's not like a catastrophic issue that would block us from moving forward. It's just something that has to be fixed.
Mm-hmm. What do you see as the current overarching strategy, right? So we have DNS checkpointing as being an interim safe
publisher
perish that we can implement right away. But then, what's kind of the more some of the other things that are on the front burner right now?
First, the stuff that wouldn't take a hard fork. So publisher perish along with DNS checkpoints. So you could have publisher perish as a soft fork, and then there's another version that Theodore put out that's
right.
It works alongside with DNS checkpoints.
Yep.
so both of those don't require a hard fork, but they require a little bit of coding, and those help work to mitigate the issues. And that's,
you say mitigate. How far do you think that takes us? Is the publish or perish? Does that get us to where we need to be, or do you think like proof of work?
Well, the thing is, if you use DNS checkpoints on their own, they're a little bit centralizing. And that's the thing. They're only centralizing because of the way they're being deployed, because of who's deploying them. Like Data Hoarder has different ways to deploy the DNS checkpoints in a more decentralized manner, where there'd be more than you can have 10 different people that are contributing the checkpoints, and they have to cross-reference with each other before they can be deployed. So it wouldn't be as centralized as what we're moving forward with to begin with. But DNS checkpoints prevent deep reorgs, so you can't have invalidated transactions, and they combat selfish mining. So you wouldn't be able to selfish mine more than a few blocks deep. Where publish or perish punishes selfish mining worse. So that it would basically force Cubic to mine honestly. Where these together aren't something we'd look at long term, because DNS checkpoints aren't something we want to be constantly deploying forever, because that relies on people publishing them.
Mm-hmm.
But publish or perish on its own is something that it doesn't prevent the 51% attack, right? So that's the boogeyman right now, is that Cubic hasn't demonstrated that they have 51%. But let's say somebody's watching what Cubic is doing and they have access to 51%, then that's an issue. But where it comes to the opposition against proof of stake, it's like a lot of the better arguments are that we have no idea how much Monero is owned by exchanges, governments, bad actors, darknet markets. Who knows, right?
Canadian government.
No, because that's the perfect example. I think it's Arkham was tracking TradeOgre's funds, and they only tracked 30 million, and 30 million is because of the public funds they could track. So the other 26 million must have been in privacy coins, which means that the Canadian government has a potential 26 million in Monero, which is 100,000 Monero. That's more than the community's 100,000 Monero. That's more than the community's gonna put up for stake, right? So it's right from the bat, the Canadian government could have 67% of the proof of stake just because they
Canadian government's what the fuck is Wownero?
Right?
Why do we have so much of it?
Yeah, there's a lot of people in Wownero angry because a lot of them foolishly left their Wownero on TradeOgre, but hey, it happens.
Yeah, no, I feel bad because I think a lot of the people that got fleeced, right? They're obviously Canadian government is framing this like it was all
all criminal proceeds,
illegal things, right? But I'm sure buying from most of the traders on there were just regular people that wanted to KYC free swap into privacy.
It wasn't even just that. It's that a lot of these low cap privacy coins don't have a home. They don't have. Right. They're not on any exchanges. They were on TradeOgre. So you'd have something like Monero Ocean that mines all of these coins and sells them and buys Monero. So Monero Ocean would sell Darrow and all these other coins that I don't know the names of to retail on TradeOgre. So the people that were buying these coins aren't criminals. They're just people that wanted to invest in the coin that they couldn't buy it from anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And
But yeah, so back to your argument here of why this concerns you with regards to any proof of stake options being discussed.
Yeah, it's I think it was JW Winter, or J Winter M. He had done some math or some research to try to look at how much XMR the government may have seized over the years. And supposedly it might be over 4 million, right? So it's if the government is in possession, and we know the government doesn't sell Monero back to the public. So if we know the government's in possession of over 4 million Monero, then proof of stake is a no sale from the get-go, because that's way too much Monero that's almost 25% of the supply.
I see Dr. Cap looking to chip in chime in on that.
I just think proof of stake is a non-starter for Monero. You need to have exceptionally high liquidity and provable distribution, like provable widespread distribution for a proof of stake network to work.
Yeah.
Monero, you don't know who owns how much Monero. Like you can guesstimate it at times based on anecdotal or very circumstantial information, but without really high levels of distribution and without really high levels of base liquidity at that point of distribution, you've got a network that's going to fail, because it will gradually. I wrote a whole freaking paper on this, and it's basically pinned to my Twitter profile. I've posted the links as well. Ironically, I wrote a whole paper just criticizing the liquidity dynamics of proof of stake. It leads to a death spiral in liquidity, because what happens, you see this with the vast majority of proof of stake networks. I'll talk about the exception, and I can talk about the exception in a minute, but the vast majority, if you launch a proof of stake coin, what happens is you need someone to provide some liquidity for that to be traded against initially. And that's great. You create a community, people believe in that coin, they hoard it. Okay, well, what happens next? They hoard it to stake it, like a good chunk of them, and they're staking it at a given inflationary rate. All right, so they're getting their passive return. Okay, well, then what happens? The supply, these people, they start buying most of that supply up, and then they start staking it. And okay, what happens when the price dips? You got a natural tendency for the same people to buy up that supply. You don't have a tendency for them to sell it, to distribute it. If you're selling something, that means you're giving it to someone else, which means it's now in someone else's hands, which means they have to learn about it, they have to understand it, ideally, and the onus is on you. You're actually distributing knowledge of this network, which means you're distributing liquidity, like the flow of information. So if you've got a network where all of the incentives are aligned towards accumulation, hoarding, whenever the price drops, it will be the same people that buy it. And then after a while, the price will just drop to a certain point where, all right, it's fine. Let's just stake forever. And it'll go to a while where the issuance continues, but there's no, but the people who've bought it, they've basically run out of whatever counterparty currency they want. The fiat or other crypto or whatever, and they're like, we're done buying. And then you just leave it staking. And then you have a network that's essentially valueless, probably fairly centralized in terms of its distribution. It can be secure provided those stakers are essentially honest. So you can actually have proof of worthlessness, which is that you just have a bunch of people who are staking this network who aren't malicious actors, but the base value of that token is not much, and it's been held for speculative reasons. So I just think it's a non-starter for Monero, because it worked for, this is the exception, it worked for Ethereum because Ethereum was a publicly traceable network. You could kind of map and go, all right, it was pretty well distributed for a number of years beforehand because it had proof of work, and proof of work creates continuous sell pressure, and that continuous sell pressure creates continuous distribution pressure, plus the miners who are selling are incentivized to promote the network to spread awareness of it. Whereas in staking, you just be lazy and passive. That's the thing. So Ethereum had achieved huge distribution as a consequence of proof of work, and at the same time it had built up liquidity to a very high level. And then they did the switch over, and that you can maintain a degree of credibility for that, because at least you can go, okay, we can see the distribution of wallets, we can see the clear distribution of balances here, and we know the base value. It's not an easy thing to attack unless you are a huge Wall Street bank. And that's actually what's happening right now, ironically, which is, it's being bought up by hedge funds. So that's my, sorry, I'm rambling.
No, that was actually a very, very good take on, simply explaining what the doomsday scenario is with that proof of stake, not even doomsday scenario, that what the inevitable evolution of it is. Obviously Monero is proof of work mineable from the day it was born as well. So there's argument to be that it's probably pretty fairly distributed, but given that it's private, you don't know who has it. Governments are confiscating it. It does leave a question mark. It's not analogous to what happened with Ethereum. So overall, do you guys, and I guess Ofrn first, so do you guys think proof of stake is a complete non-starter, even like as a finality layer with like what Luke is looking to do with his proposal?
Well, with what Luke is looking to do, like he said himself, that it's supposed to be capped at around 500 validators, and that to me is a non-starter. 500 validators means it's going to be the 500 richest people in Monero, which is like exchange, government, exchange. Like there's like if you look at ETH, even ETH has 32 as the minimum stake, and 32 ETH is over $100,000. So a lot of the people that stake their ETH just deposit it on an exchange, and let the exchange stake it for them. So that's not like it's if staking itself doesn't scale, then it's. I understand if you mine at home on your home computer that you might only get 0.0001 Monero, but there's no limit on how low your hash rate can be for you to get your Monero. Where with staking, there's a limit on the minimum amount of coins you can have in order to be a stake.
Right. It's less permissionless. Anybody can partake in securing the Monero network
POW,
via proof of work.
Right. Yeah, but not. And the other problem with Monero, when it comes to distribution, is people like to gloss over it. But Monero didn't have the most fair distribution. Like I'm mining on testnet, and in the first 3,000 blocks, that's like less than 5 days. There's over 100,000 Monero in my testnet wallet. You know what I mean? So in the first 5 days of Monero's birth, over 100,000 Monero were distributed to the 3.5 people that were using it. Right, and these days there's less than that. There's like that much that comes out in a year, right? So it depends on where all that early Monero is, how much exchanges own, how much governments own. Because other than that, we're just handing over finality of Monero to who knows what. All I know is it's probably not us. You know what I mean? Like it's not me, it's not you, it's not Dr. Cap, it's not us that have these millions of Monero.
It's that professor, right? Well, what's that guy's name? There was some early big miner of Monero. It might come to me. So Ofren, what do you think of these other proof of work proposals, particularly work shares? That's one that's being discussed a lot. Obviously, people are kind of excited about it because we heard the Cubic guy, Dr. K, not Dr. Cap, Dr. K gave us his reasoning why he's a proof of work maxi.
Quai guy, and, not Cubic guy.
I'm sorry, Quai guy, and then how they've essentially perfected proof of work through implementing what they call work shares.
Well, when I look at work shares, I think work shares they remind me of P2 pool, where the Coinbase is split up into many different pieces. Exactly. And the problem with P2 pool is it doesn't scale. Like for example, if a Monero fee is 0.0004 Monero, you can't have a Coinbase that's less than that. Otherwise, spending it is going to cost more than that just to transact it. So P2 pool itself.
Did you speak to Dr. K on this? Because I know he was in the MRL. I saw him talking with people. I'm just curious if you.
No, I just read along. with that discussion. But
did he respond to that criticism?
Yeah, and I think he drew back a little bit and had to go back to the drawing board a little bit. It was mostly Tevador that was presenting good arguments against it.
I had an idea. It's a very straight thought. I haven't fleshed it out by any means, but is it possible, and I'd be curious your thoughts on this, Ofren and Dr. Cap, is it possible that we could use work shares in a separate data structure for finality, right? So not for block weighting or block generation, but as a finality mechanism?
I'm not sure if you brought that up or somebody else did, but I think I heard somebody bring. That was you. Okay, yeah. No, so I've read along on that conversation too, and I didn't really chime into it too much. I was working more on the DNS checkpoints because it's it's been a month since we proposed it, and having that 18 block reorg while we're quote unquote working on it was kind of annoying. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, like we should have had this out weeks ago. There shouldn't have been 115 transactions invalidated. We shouldn't be dealing with this nonsense right now, and here we are, having temper tantrums every day about whether we should go proof of stake or Ethereum or whatever. I'm like, let's just get these DNS checkpoints out, and then we can like go back to the drawing board. Because once the DNS checkpoints are out, you're not invalidating any more transactions. Your selfish mining profits are going to drop unless you want to mine honestly. So, my main
and we're not even
focus is
sure if
on
they're profitable, right? Like, it's possible that they're doing this at a loss.
No, I do think they're doing it at a loss because I don't think there's anybody buying Cubic.
Yeah. Well, the
right? Like I think they're the ones that are like even CFB. He's said himself that people have asked him to remove his buy wall. Like a lot of that is him buying it. He's buying it at low prices, so they're not getting their profit. There's mining pools that are not. There's miners and mining pools that have come out to say that their pay is not what it's supposed to be. It's actually less than if they would have mined Monero directly, and they're mad about it. There's pools that stop mining Cubic, like A pool. They stopped mining Cubic because Cubic's payouts were less than advertised. So I don't think there's anybody buying Cubic. I think it's CFB funding his own operation.
Yeah, or potentially being funded by other entities.
Yeah.
I spent some time in the selfish mining literature this past week, and most of these strategies, I didn't see a single one where the strategy was to remain totally silent until you just reorg the chain. All of their maximum profit strategies were effectively create contention for the chain head, right? So either stay one block ahead of the chain head or match the honest chain blocks, one for one to try and split the hash power. But none of them said to remain silent. So yeah, it does seem like with these 10 and 18 or 9 and 18 block reorgs that they can't be acting in their best profit interest.
No, and I've been like doing it myself, like on testnet. We've been running selfish mining on testnet. Like we're all, say it says there's 2.5 kilohash on testnet. I'll put 2.5 kilohash out to see how hard it is to beat the chain. It's not easy, right? So there's only one of two things they could be doing, which is buying a lot of hash rate in bursts in order to get ahead, and then drawing it back and just staying ahead, right? Because they're not getting these leads like organically. That's why they have to have empty blocks. They have to withhold transactions. Like they're not able to stay ahead organically. It's not that easy. And when they do it, I feel like they're extending it longer and longer, just because the main chain is catching up. So as soon as the main chain is about to catch up or pass them, they release theirs. But I don't think their initial times they get ahead are completely organic. I think they burst the hash rate for a few minutes.
How damaging do you consider these reorgs? Because I feel like people almost are starting to ignore them now.
Over 10 blocks is bad. When I say bad, I mean like I dealt with personally somebody that had contacted support because they weren't able to use their wallet. They had sent hundreds of XMR and none of the transactions were confirming and they couldn't use their wallet. And then there was other people who contacted me about their missing money. Like they got sent $20 from an exchange and it disappeared from their wallet. And I'm like, yeah, that's the problem, is when you invalidate the transactions, they essentially get refunded. So you can have a transaction that during 18 block reorg, you could have a transaction that had 8 confirmations that just disappeared into thin air. So that's where I'm like, we should have had these DNS checkpoints out before that.
Well, when you say disappear, like, and there's no way of getting it, like people potentially lost Monero during this?
Yeah. The people that sent the money got their money back. And they might not even realize. They might just look at their wallet and see that they have a bigger balance, but don't realize that
the people that were supposed to receive it didn't get it, right?
Didn't get it. But there are some exchanges like Kraken who raised their deposits to 32 confirmations, so Kraken didn't lose any money on that. But then you have swappers like Fixed Float that might have had 2, 5, or 8 confirmations that might have lost money during this. Now the good thing is the only time I've heard about anybody potentially losing money was the one person that had $20, and they said they deleted the wallet. So I'm not sure if I completely believe that they lost money, but I do know for a fact that 115 different transactions were sent that were refunded. So whether or not those 115 people resent the same transactions to the same people in the same amounts and cleared up their debt is yet to be seen. But Yeah,
I
like
gotta check. One of those might have been me sending a tip Sunday night on the XMR Bazaar forums.
Yeah. But that's where Bawdy was talking about the Grim Trigger. That's where we were saying the Grim Trigger was activated. That's like as soon as they did that, the whole discussion about whether or not we should deploy DNS checkpoints, like any contention against it, is to me it's just somebody that's a bad actor. Like, are you seriously saying we should sit around for the next 3 months while people lose money?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me. The DNS checkpoints aren't centralized in the way that Ofrn just writes some random numbers into a file and then pushes them to nodes and forces them to reorg onto whatever blockchain I want them to. That's not how it works. The way we're doing it is that, let's say for the last 10 years, there's never been a reorg deeper than 3 blocks or deeper than 2 blocks. We're setting it so that anything 2 blocks or older is essentially finalized. So all of the mining pools, and it's basically a miner activated software. So you have to have the majority of the miners opt in, and once they opt in, any blocks that these miners have stored that are more than 2 blocks old can't be reorged. So Cubic would have to reorg 1 block at a time if they want a selfish mine, and they can't afford to do that. Like I was saying, the only way that it looks like they're able to do this is that they rent hash rate for a short period of time to get 1 or 2 blocks ahead, and then they maintain that. Like they don't keep pumping out the massive amounts of hash rate that they just rented or purchased or stole with a botnet, who knows. But they have to maintain that. But if they maintain that for more than 2 blocks, now they lose. Because once they release that selfish mine chain, it gets obliterated. It doesn't exist anymore. It gets rejected.
Well, there's also a good chance that what they're doing is using some, like, I don't know, let's just say it's like a 20-minute period of massively boosted rented hash rate, and they get ahead by, let's just say it's 10 blocks. Probably what they're doing from then on is like trying to extend that lead. Like that's their window of opportunity until the chain catches up where they could hypothetically extend that lead. So then they mine on the hash power that they have, which is some amount that's significantly lower, right, after paying to get ahead. And then, so maybe they can get another 5, 6, 7 blocks after that. It's hard to say. I'm really hoping that by next week I'll be able to have something that looks like a validated and like a validated simulation, because in a very, very, like, as I was sort of just checking the logic, some of the pure 31% selfish mining, I was seeing where they could reorg, like occasionally they could reorg like 10 or 15 blocks without actually getting ahead in hash rate for a period of time, that just by random chance they could get ahead. So I'm hoping that I can like send that to you guys. That'll be useful for some kind of modeling.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you've seen Rucknium's his write up on it, but he has similar numbers where he's saying that with I think 35 or 40% hash rate, you could do at least 1 18 block reorg every day by chance. That's like, I don't think Cubic is just like you said, they're not selfish. They're not doing it by the book. They're not just pumping out their selfish mind hash rate. They're gaming it. So I think that if they were to just try to, just run it nonstop all day, they might be able to hit that every day. But I think they're trying to hit that every day. That's why they do a 6 block here and a 5 block there and a 2 block here. They're constantly trying to see how far ahead they can get.
It's actually possible that they're showing some restraint. Honestly, it could be possible that they're restraining themselves from what they could actually do.
Well, they were restraining themselves up until the 18 block reorg, and then they went all over Twitter saying it didn't happen. There was no invalid transactions. There was no double spends. We're a bunch of liars. And then they did it again like 2 days later, where they invalidated 1 more transaction. They did a 10 block reorg and invalidated. Yeah, so that's where I'm like we need to get these DNS checkpoints out, because like they're playing with us right now. Like they know they can screw because as soon as somebody loses a lot of money, it's going to be an issue. The fact that nobody's complained about losing money yet means that either nobody's noticed or that everybody was honest and paid their debts after they realized that they got refunded. So
it is a concern.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully this DNS checkpointing thing gets implemented sooner than later, right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like the pull request is ready. well, except for the bug. So as soon as that last bug is fixed, then I can torture test it some more and make sure that everything heals itself properly. Because the way the bug works is, let's say I'm running a node and Body's running a node, and Doug is the one selfish mining, and I receive checkpoint number 100, and Body has checkpoint number 103, just because my node hasn't updated yet. And Doug releases a reorg on let's say block 102. Then my node will reorg onto Doug's chain, but then my node will receive the new checkpoint for block 103, 104, and then it will try to switch to block 103, 104 and fail, and the node gets stuck. So it can't produce blocks, it can't sync, so that's not can't do that. Basically, what's supposed to happen is my node's supposed to get that checkpoint and then reorg back onto the longer chain. It's not supposed to get stuck.
I know that I already have my node set to enforce DNS checkpointing, so that as soon as that is out, my node is automatically going to enforce them.
As soon as it's out, you should update though, because currently the checkpoints are only updated every hour. So it's not the it's okay though, because if you're not mining, then you don't really have control over the blockchain. The longest chain will
I'm
get
mining
pushed
to
to your
B2.
node. No, I mean if you're not you would be a part of the biggest part of the hash of the total hash rate, not the honest hash rate, the total hash rate. So yeah, you would want to update and you would want to keep enforcing, because if you don't, then if you get reorged onto Cubic chain for any amount of time, then your hash rate now gets added to their side of the blockchain, which could give them.
Kevin Tip 30 cents is a good question. Are there any long-term solutions for 51% attack? Is ASIC resistant algorithm a double-edged sword for decentralization?
I don't feel ASIC resistance is a double-edged sword for decentralization. I feel like not just feel like, if you look at Zcash decided, let's use a new ASIC algo, and they have 80% stuck on one pool with one company producing 100% of the ASICs for, right? You're totally at the mercy of Bitmain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's an argument at all.
Right.
But
This
as far as
isn't an ASIC problem. This is a problem with incentives, with pools being able to pull more people into your pool.
And when Monero did have ASICs, Bitmain owned over 91% of the hash rate, and we hard forked to get rid of them.
Yeah,
like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah.
I'm going to have to go very shortly, guys, but I just want to add to this. I think if you go down the ASIC route, again, I think that's a non-starter. Simple reason, I'm going to say this and it's going to piss off Bitcoiners. ASICs are just 1 degree separated from proof of stake. It's just proof of stake with one extra step. There's 0 point to having ASICs. You're going to lose your decentralization.
We don't mind pissing off Bitcoiners here.
So that's my take. But hey, it's been a pleasure, guys.
Wait, before Dr. Cap goes,
Dr. Cap, before you go, maybe Offer can say some things about BasicSwap. Go ahead.
Yeah. So for the BasicSwap thing, for where the question was about APIs, whether you could run your own, I think with multinet that should work, because with multinet you don't have to run a particle daemon to run SMessage. You could run SMessage over basically your own API, whether it's Simplex or Telegram or whatever, and that could communicate back with full BasicSwap instances that relay the transactions to everybody else. So I think multinet is the answer to the whether or not you could run your own API.
Oh, so you'd have to develop your own API. Okay, but yeah.
Not necessarily develop your own, because it already supports Simplex. So let's say you have Simplex on your phone and you set your BasicSwap to that Simplex group address or whatever, then that would relay it back to other people who on their computers are running it on Simplex and on Particle.
Oh, that would be epic. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to say 100% couldn't agree more with Dr. Cap's assessment that ASICs are basically just proof of stake. Like, that's it's so close to proof of stake, and it's 2 companies now. It used to just be one company, Bitmain, that basically owned ASICs. So it's like it's a non-starter.
but yeah, I just want to say before I go, thank you so much for having me on. I know I can only do these so often just because of my own schedule, but yeah, I'm going to be pushing hard to try and get us to Monerotopia.
Awesome.
So just, you know, I
Dude,
can't commit to anything just yet, but it's definitely
dude,
something
do
I
what you
want
got to
to.
do. Yeah, we appreciate your support in past conferences. So whatever we got to do to work out to make it happen, you're more than happy to work with you guys because you guys have been so supportive to us. And I think it would be great timing, right, with everything that's happening with BasicSwap and then Monero in general. Would love to keep you guys in the mix down there. So thank you, man. Thank you, Dr. Cap. You're always welcome on this show. Offer anything else you want to bring up, man, while we have you?
Yeah, so I wanted to continue on BasicSwap. So BasicSwap, we're on desktop right now. You have to run nodes for everything. It's planned that you should be able to, for non-Monero, for Bitcoin forks, they should be able to use Electrum. So like basically the same sort of wallet that you would have with Cake or whatever. So you don't need your own node. You could just specify an Electrum server and connect to that. So you wouldn't.
Awesome.
So even on desktop, you wouldn't have to run all of the blockchains.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea with desktop, and like I argue with people about this all the time, is there's two different things with DEXs. You can run a DEX or you can use a DEX. And with BasicSwap right now, you're running the DEX. So that's why you run all the blockchains and everything else, because you're the infrastructure. In order to interact with it, you don't have to run the infrastructure. You know what I mean? You don't have to run all the blockchains. You don't have to check all the transactions on yourself by yourself. It's just like with Thorchain or anything else. You could delegate that power to somebody else, to somebody else's node or somebody else's server or whatever. But yeah, so the biggest pain with BasicSwap right now, I don't think it's the installation. I think it's the storage requirements. Just having to run all the different nodes. You don't have to run all the different nodes, just the ones you want to swap with. But that's still
But when you say you don't have to run it, you can just use it. But we're not there yet where you can just use it without simultaneously running it.
Yeah, we're not there yet. But there has been some additions where like there's like client authentication and other stuff like that where you could potentially, not yet, but you could potentially, like I could run the backend for me, and when you log in, you could use my backend remotely without me having access to your wallets and all that other stuff. But that would involve you using Electrum wallets and everything else, and mine just being the one that relays the transactions using the nodes on my server. And
Yeah, and see, I don't know if this would be possible, but my thought would be, would it be possible to say, have, instead of downloading the full node for each blockchain, you could just download the last, say, week or 2 weeks or month worth of each chain. So you download a month worth of Litecoin, the last month worth of Litecoin, the last month worth of Monero, the last month worth of Bitcoin, the last month worth of whatever, so that you have a month's worth of the chain to go back and look at. But you're not going to be generally going back that far anyway.
No, BasicSwap runs prune nodes by default. So for most of them, it's about 4 gigabytes of the last 4 gigabytes of the nodes. For some of them, but you could lower that to 550 megabytes. So you don't have to store, 20 to 250 gigabytes, 600 gigabytes of Bitcoin. You don't have to store that much data on your computer. You could, Bitcoin, I think at its minimum is around 14 or 15 gigabytes, right? And with Monero, you can use remote nodes, like as usual, because Monero is better than the rest of these chains that don't allow remote nodes with their core software. So Monero's minimum is actually about 200-300 megabytes just to run Monero wallet RPC and to store the wallet files. Or with the other chains, it's running core software like Bitcoin Core or Litecoin Core, and those store the wallet on the node. So you have to run the node, which is why we're going to add Electrum support, so you could run an Electrum wallet that doesn't require a node to have a wallet.
Does the divide between core and knots on Bitcoin have any implications for BasicSwap and the way it functions on that chain?
It shouldn't, but BasicSwap it checks the signatures of all the software when it downloads them and everything. But you can, like, say you're already running knots, you can connect. You should be able to connect BasicSwap to your knots, like to your existing knots node.
Okay, because I know there's a civil war going on in Bitcoin over that right now.
yeah, yeah. But for
Offer,
some
let me
things like BasicSwap, or sorry, not BasicSwap, Bitcoin Cash, it's Bitcoin Cash has like very different node implementations, so I don't think those are cross compatible. I think you'd have to use the Bitcoin Cash node that it comes with.
Offered, how are you feeling about Monero's code base in general, other than, you know, the issue we're dealing with right now, like things like full chain membership proofs, any other issues? I mean, you're putting out this fire right now, but what are some of the other things you're most concerned about right now in Monero?
Well, yeah. So with full chain membership, so full chain membership proofs and DNS checkpoints are the two things that I've been focused on for the last like 3 or 4 months. Like on my full chain membership proofs testnet, my private testnet, I got blocks up to about 40 megabytes, like spamming tons of transactions, you know, making sure everything works. Found a few issues, a few bugs here and there. Had a lot of stuff fixed, and like Jay Berman, working with Jay Berman, he fixed most of the issues that I've been able to discover. So there's the public testnet, stressnet for full chain membership proof should be coming like any day now, because it's finally in a state where it's probably stable enough to be used. It's not stable enough for mainnet yet, but it's probably good enough that we can deploy it to a lot of different people and test it on a wider sample. So I think
so that's very exciting. You're doing a lot, man. You're doing a lot these days. You're working on BasicSwap. You're working on obviously helping out with implementing the changes that we need to see to thwart the cubic attack. You're working on helping to implement full chain membership proofs. You helped out with the Nodo in a very big way. A lot of people don't even know that.
Yeah.
We sent you a Nodo, and you were helping tweak the code. I announced last week or the week before I'm no longer part of that project, but I believe you know, you did a lot. You contributed a lot to that, so thank you. What are there other things you're working on too, man? Monero related?
Just a little bit of everything, but those are my main focuses right now. Even with BasicSwap, I took like a week break or so. It's kind of just ignored everybody because I was like I was more worried about the cubic stuff. Not worried, but I was like,
there's more immediate need.
Yeah, and same thing with full chain membership proofs. For the longest time, nobody had tested anything. Like the developers were developing, they were testing their code as they went along, but nobody was running a node. Nobody was practicing it. Like nobody was actually seeing if any of this stuff actually worked. Right? So, you know, I had a temper tantrum one day in one of the MRL meetings when they first delayed the testnet. They were like, "Oh, we're not going to do it now. We're going to wait." I was like, "What do you mean we're not going to do it now? Like, when are we going to do it? Like, we keep pushing it back, and nobody's ever tested this stuff." So I went and I got instructions from them, ran it, found a lot of issues. And that's, you know, the same thing like with DNS checkpoints. It's like people take for granted that we're a community. We're not, you know, we're not an organization. We don't have people designated to do certain jobs. So it's like if you don't do, it's like if they say if you want something done right, do it yourself. But it's like in this situation, it's like if you want something done at all, do it yourself.
Yeah, is it the tragedy of the commons situation, right? Everybody assumes somebody else is doing it.
Yeah. Like with DNS checkpoints, it's me, Rucknium, and Data Horde, right? And it's like, like people on the outside think there's 100 different people that are working on stuff, but I'm like, no, it's just the three of us that decided like, hey, we need to get this done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we need to stop talking about it in a group of 40 people, where 39 of them don't actually want to do anything. Right? It's like same thing with Body, where Body's making a simulator. Right, like people would talk about it, but nobody's doing it. Right, so it's like, you know,
until Body stepped up, took the reins.
Right, but that's where it's like I appreciate anybody that puts actions to their words. Like doesn't just talk about, oh, we should do this or we should do that or maybe this or maybe that. Like Tevador especially, he's put out like 5-6 different well thought out proposals. Like this is him going home, sitting down and figuring stuff out on his own while everybody else is arguing about whether we should piggyback on Ethereum. Right? So
that is the real work being done.
Yeah.
Anything you want to put out there in terms of, you know, maybe ideas on how we could improve the development ecosystem for Monero, so we could get more
I
things
think
done?
I think the main thing is that people need to just like to do, like it's because a lot of people from the outside, they think that there's necessarily an approval process, but there's no approval. Like the reason Arctic Mine had an issue with Luke's CCS is because people on the outside will look at a funded CCS like this is the only one we're going to pay attention to because it has money behind it, where that's not the case at all. Arctic Mine doesn't want anybody to stop contributing ideas for free because everybody's contributing what they're doing for free. Like Kevador hasn't asked for a penny, right? So it's like, if we're going to fund this one guy, why should anybody else submit their solutions, right? And that's one of the main issues Arctic Mine has with Kaya's CCS proposal is that we shouldn't be funding people before. Like, it's one thing to have, like, let's get 1,000 Monero and pay 100 Monero to each person that has a valid solution. That's completely different than saying let's give 200 Monero to one guy and nothing to everybody else. Because what that's going to do is make everybody come out and say we all want 200 Monero, and we're just going to submit AI slop.
Right.
And that's that's a big problem that we've been dealing with. Is a lot of people that are just pushing garbage. Right, and it's like filtering through the noise is like we're just asking what's one of the hardest parts with the code base. It's that we're light on developers, and that new contributors are pushing a lot of garbage, right? So
yeah, I saw the comment someone basically talking about that. Please stop submitting AI bugs. It's just a nonsense, noisy AI, and anyone that's played with code that's working, like take any code that's working and working well and submit it to an AI. For whatever reason, it has to find something, even if it's great, even if you have something great. You pump that into the latest LLM and it's going to come out with 10 things and say, well, this is wrong and probably this is wrong. And well, this could happen. And it's just going to be absolute fucking garbage. Like it's
we went from like 1 or 2 HackerOne reports per month to like 3 or 4 per week.
Jesus.
You know what I mean? So that takes people like VT Nerd and Celsta and Jeffro away from what they're doing to read this 400 lines of proof of concept garbage to realize that there was no issue. And it's like, this is ridiculous, right? Like, what do we do? Like, how do you, because the one time you ignore something is the one time it's going to be valid, right? So it's AI has been a real battery drain on everything because we're already light on people. Jeffro and Jay Berman are focused mostly on full chain membership proofs. VT Nerds focused on the core code base. Jeffro contributes to the core code base too, but we don't have people think, oh, Monero's got 400 developers. No, we don't. You have a CFB on Twitter saying, oh, we're working with the Monero team. Like, no, you're not. Like, nobody at Monero is working with you. Like,
yeah.
There's a lot of misinformation out there, misunderstanding in terms of how things actually get done.
Yeah, and the few people that are working around the clock are really working around the clock. Like that's where like for me personally, I'll get like a little angry sometimes when I wake up in the morning and see some long-time Monero community members talking about we need to move to proof of stake, blah 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 blah, spreading FUD at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, man, can you like go away? Like, I understand that everybody loves you. You're people have been a fan of yours for years and whatever, but you're not educated on this subject. And all you're doing is wasting everybody that's working's time because you're not doing anything. You're just spreading FUD. You're feeding into the nonsense. Like,
how about this? If you think we should go to proof of stake, then please come up with an algorithm, develop something, develop a proof of concept, put it out there, right? Like, maybe we don't need to
push the code
200 Monero to figure that out. Like if that's what you
push the code.
You want to argue for proof of stake, I'm all about it. But like you said, push the code.
Yep. And with another problem that people won't say in public, but they'll say in DMs and stuff, that the issue that they have with with Luke's proposal is that not long ago he left Monero for a bunch of different reasons. Like, he didn't like the environment or whatever else. He left Monero and didn't want to contribute to Monero anymore. And then as soon as this happens, he comes back pushing proof of stake. And instead of like he did with full chain membership proofs, like you mentioned, with full chain membership proofs, he did the research, he did a proof of concept, and he came to CCS after he had something working. With this, he came and he said, "I'll write a For Dummies book. Take it or leave it." You know what I mean? It's sort of to me, it's a little bit disrespectful because it's playing on people's heartstrings. It's basically saying to the community, like, do you love me or do you love me not? And I'm like, well, like, come on, we know you're capable enough to just push the code, and we know we'll pay you for the code, but you want to write a book about it when everybody else, like Tevador, is pushing ideas, like pushing like we don't need the book. I'm not saying we don't need the book. I'm saying like push the code with the book, and people would be a little bit less apprehensive about it. But it's it's merged now. It's for funding. He'll get his money, and we'll get the book, and then after that, we'll find out what it takes to actually follow one of the recommendations in the book. Mm-hmm. But as it is, the book coming a month from now doesn't solve any issues of today.
For sure. Do you think there is a chance that something workable comes from what Luke is looking into? Or like you said, like it's all those potential options are completely off the table for you?
Well, that's the thing. Is like in the book, it's supposed to compare all the different options. So it's like we're doing that already. like we're gonna get a synopsis from Luke, and it's gonna come with his recommendation on what we should do. Which we're all pretty sure that recommendation is going to be the finality layer. But while he's doing that, Tevador's come up with 5 more ideas. Right? It's like we're not just going to take what's in the book as gospel. When I say we, I mean there's not even that many people that are in the we. Right? So it's like, why are you forcing? Like, you shouldn't be forcing your ideas on people like that. It's to me it just seems like he wanted to be paid to come back. He didn't want to come back. Like I'm saying, he left the community. He didn't want to come back.
Well, he never left though. I don't think.
Yeah, he wrote a bit. He wrote a big letter.
Yeah, I had him on the show after he wrote that up. I mean, I think it was.
When I say left the community, I meant left contributing to Monero. He still contributed to full chain membership proofs. He still worked with Jay Berman.
Right?
That's on his own repo, and that's his own pet project. Like his own organization, Monero Oxide. Like he doesn't contribute to Monero Corp. He didn't join in on the MRL conversations or the meetings or any of that stuff. Like this isn't saying anything to slight him. This is just saying that it was sort of like a messy breakup. Like, you know what I mean? He didn't like the way some people were acting, and he said, "I'm out." And we're like, okay. And then he came back saying,
listen,
"Okay, well,
I mean, you guys are in the trenches, right? And you're all very intelligent, and there's." You could say, no, there's no egos involved, but there's egos involved with everybody involved. And just from an outsider perspective, and I'm on the normie level, it's exciting to see. I see it as a positive that, all right, sucks we're having these 5-alarm fires now, but the fact that Luke ran to try to come and help out, I see as a positive sign, not like as a, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would look at that positively, that he is trying to get back involved again. Now, all right, he's pitching it as... I'd give me 175 Monero to
research
publish
his
book, but
to research his
I still
ideas.
see it as positive that it pulls him back in. Then he wants to contribute. I don't know. I just think you guys are so important. I don't want to see any of you, be like, screw Monero just because they don't want to deal with the personalities and everybody that's in the room.
Think about it like with you and Maverick, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's one thing for Maverick to exist. It's another for you to blame all of us for that. You know what I mean? It's like he could be as mad as he wanted to be about the people that he wasn't getting along with. But those weren't the people doing any work. So I don't know what you know what I mean? I don't know how that fell on how that led to I'm leaving Monero. But it's like we're not Monero Maverick. We're not a bunch of Nazis. Like we're just contributors. Just like, but it's like, okay, whatever. People weren't gonna fight him on it. They weren't gonna beg him or whatever. And it's please I mean, I'm not trying to harp on him. He's a good guy.
Well, yeah, I don't think his issues were thinking that there was Nazis in the dev community. It was more so what he saw as the broader community, and he was a little, he didn't want to associate with those people, which is
Hey, there's something I don't
Freedom of
understand actually.
association.
It's so I thought he wanted a CCS to pursue specifically the finality layer, but is this a different thing now to just generally pursue proof of stake solutions, or like generally pursue the solution space? Like, are there other separate things?
It's just to generally pursue different solutions, and it's like the CCS is called finality layer, but it's not about a book on the finality layer. He's supposed to be comparing different solutions, and to give his recommendation on the way we should move forward, which is like, that's a fair thing to research. But the CCS is called finality layer, and when he first brought it up, it wasn't like, oh, let's hear what everybody has to say, and then, okay, I'm going to propose the finality layer. It was like, I'm proposing a finality layer. You like it? No, you don't like it? Okay, well, I'm proposing Ether. You don't like it? Okay, well, I'm going to make a CCS for the finality layer, and I'll show you guys in the book why my idea is good.
I mean, I could understand dedicated exploration of how a finality layer could work. To think that could be done in a month, so taking another step back, to think that you could truly at depth understand the like 10 or 20 different solutions that are on the table right now and write a book about that in a month and actually make a reel about that's I'm sorry, I don't care how smart you are. You're going to have to be like a 170 kind of IQ person to pull something like that off, and you're going to have to work 18 hours a day. Now, maybe he is that guy. Maybe he is 170.
I think he is, man. I think he is.
But even so, like, it takes time for stuff to percolate in your mind. Like, even if you're a high IQ kind of person, it takes time for things to percolate. It takes time to get breakthrough generalization vision out of like a nebulous cloud of information. I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm just saying that, man, that's hard to believe that 1 month is enough to truly evaluate.
And there's new ideas coming up every day. So let's say we merged it a month ago and the book was now finished. Tevador had 2 new ideas in the last week. Like, those aren't in the book, right? So it's like, to me, it's like it's all fine and dandy, whatever. But the question is, okay, well, who's going to implement this? Like, in the end, who's like, what's the implementation path, right? Like, regardless of whatever we're doing, if this is going to take a year and a half to come to an actual solution, then there's no rush to be pushing this through when we needed a solution today. Like, whatever happens next year is irrelevant. Like, sure, like, yeah, we're not trying to delay the year, keep pushing the year back, but if it's going to take a year to have an actual solution done, then there's no reason to spend an hour every week debating about whether or not we should, like, make a book about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not, like I'm saying, I'm not mad at the research, and that's the first thing I said is like, I'm all for funding research. My only point was, it's like, well, what are we researching? Like, what's the end result supposed to look like, right? And that's where Arctic Mind's like, well, the end result shouldn't be there until we have all the ideas on the table in the first place. There shouldn't be a decision made by anybody or a recommendation made by anybody until we can actually look at, like you said, politically viable solutions. And proof of stake is not one that's going to go over well. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just hard fork all nilly-willy in Monero and expect people to hard fork with you.
The other thing is that, like, the guys, you and the other guys that can truly evaluate these proposals, y'all are, y'all are balls deep in trying to get DNS, the immediate mitigation, out and released so that we can stop the bleeding. So it's like we can't even really evaluate this stuff, because I mean, as much as I respect Luke and his intelligence and his capacity, like, we need all of you guys to also be able to evaluate all those things and come to some kind of consensus, and that's really hard to do. Like Rucknium said, he's like, well, I was busy working on the MDP for some of this stuff. And then suddenly we had the Grim trigger, and now we have to do DNS checkpoint. So that pulls one of our smartest guys, Rucknium, at least a statistician level guy, that pulls him off to have to like put the fire out. And so yeah, I mean, it's like I keep saying, it's going to take time, and only after the bleeding is stopped, I think, can do people have the latitude to really explore which solutions are the better ones.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're bleeding out, and as we're talking about the best way to improve heart health, it's like, well, we need to stop the bleeding before we can worry about that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's all great, it's all fine and dandy for that, but that's like, what are we working on? The next chain, the new Monero, like after this Monero is dead, because we need to save this one first. Like,
Very good point.
And the biggest problem I have, like with some of the people that are pro the book, that are pro the CCS, is they're actively against DNS checkpoints. And I'm like, so you don't have a solution that works today, and you're basically pushing against the deployment of DNS checkpoints. And I'm like, look, we're not out here to fork the chain. You know what I mean? We're not out here to force anybody onto some new chain. We're out here to prevent invalid transactions, and if we can add proof of publish or perish to that, to also punish selfish mining. Like,
Well,
we're not hard forking. We're not. There's not a consensus level change.
In fairness to the proof of stake guys, they are saying to make the mitigation checkpointing on Ethereum.
But they're even saying that's weeks out, and I'm like, that's not weeks out. That's more like months out. Because, for example, let's say we have a release that we have to do in the next 2 days. It's not coming for a week. Like, Monero doesn't just release new binaries nilly-willy. People have to approve the pull request. The pull requests have to sit for a number of days to make sure that nobody objects to them. Then they have to be merged, and then we have to tag the release, and then we have to do reproducible builds to make sure that, you know, there's no malicious stuff being uploaded or anything. And then we put the release out. And that normally takes 3 or 4 days. Like, from the time that we tag the release to the time we put out the time we put out the binaries, it takes 3 or 4 days. So it's like, just to say that, you know, we're gonna do it on Ethereum, that's like, are we talking about a soft fork? Because we're doing it on Ethereum with a soft fork, who is pushing the checkpoints to Ethereum? One person? 2 people? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, who's pushing the checkpoints to Ethereum? Who's the one that's making this decision? Like, it's the same thing. Like, the only thing that's different is the place that's hosting the checkpoints is more decentralized now. But what's not different is who's pushing them. Right? So that's what I mean. Is it's like in any case, whether it's DNS checkpoints or Ethereum, the nodes are the ones that are making the checkpoints. So, you know, it doesn't make sense to me to piggyback on another network that's supposedly more decentralized. You know what I mean? It's like, Ethereum's not the most decentralized network out there. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's good, but, you know, is it as decentralized as RandomX? No, like, not a chance.
Right? Right? And it's like, putting that into the code base is why are we adding Ethereum to the code base?
Yeah, that's the other thing I was wondering about. Like, how much bloat does that immediately add to the code base? Like, potentially forever. Like,
right? To me, it doesn't make sense, because it's a contentious soft fork, where if I don't want to update and follow the Ethereum checkpoints, then who's following them and who's not? You know what I mean? If I don't update my node, so and the only way to make me follow them is a hard fork.
yeah.
Right? It's like, do you think mining pools that are like focused on Monero or whatever want to start spending 300 kilobytes, potentially more, to post the block onto the Ethereum blockchain? Like, that's like, these things aren't studied.
Yeah, so the only way to get them to adopt it is you have to make it a plug and play where they just like click a few buttons and it's done. Because, you know, these guys don't want to go figure out, how do I configure my Ethereum node, and how do I now post this, and okay, now I have to integrate that into my cost structure, and what happens if there's an outage on Ethereum.
Yeah.
It sounds temptingly easy, and maybe there's some models that we can copy, like that are copyable, but
yeah, like D-Power or whatever from Pirate Chain, or, you know, there's a bunch of these things out there. But it's like, with DNS checkpoints, even there's been discussion about how to delegate the DNS, or how to have 100 different people submitting checkpoints, and like, I had to like, you know, put my foot down and be like, look, we can do that in like V2. Like, for now, we need to deal with the guys that's shooting at us, like, right now. Like, you know, we're behind the wall, there's bullets coming through the wall, and we're getting hit. Like, we need to worry about the threat at hand before we can worry about the future. You know, decentralizing the DNS. Pardon?
I was just going to read a super chat. I guess it's not a super chat. It's just a YouTube comment. Kevin says, thank you, Ofrn, for your contributions to Monero.
Thank you, Kevin.
There was another one. Was it also Kevin? I saw it flashed up on the screen. It actually was an XMR chat. Oh, okay. Yeah, so Kevin, there was a part of your question here that we didn't answer. It says, are there any long-term solutions for 51% attack? And the question is the answer is maybe. The idea is that you can penalize by reorg depth or penalize by time, or give some kind of bonus, depending on like weight blocks on the basis of how long they've been visible. These are possibilities, but whether or not the trade-offs are worth it is still kind of an open question. Ethereum Classic did do a type of a depth penalty. They called it modified exponential scoring system or something like that. I started calling it depth penalty because it sounds cooler. Rich uncles and the depth penalty. So the answer is maybe, but we really have to analyze it a lot deeper to understand the trade-offs that might be involved.
Modified exponential scoring system just sounds like a mess.
That's what it turned out to be. They set their modification, their exponential part of that. They set it too aggressively to the point that it was acting like basically a checkpoint, and they were seeing network fractures, like minor accidental network fractures. So they actually rolled that back. But I think the idea still could be viable. It's just that it's a question of setting the constants involved so that you don't create this accidental checkpoint pivot point, but something that's much more smoothly scaled. But that's my speculation, right? That was like the whole idea. It was actually this whole the time weighted blocks or the penalization for for reorganization, stuff like that. It was that got me into making the simulator, because it's like this math is exploding. I can't solve this specifically. Like, this is too much. Like I could spend a month on this and not even be confident that I have the math correct. It says that, well, the only way to really understand it and to know for sure is you have to make a simulation. Because even the Markov decision process, those don't model the actual latency that could be involved. And hypothetically, like, we need the network to perform under degraded internet. Like, that's what Satoshi originally designed Bitcoin to do, was to perform even if the global internet had degradation, even to the point that you lost global internet for a period of time, that you could still heal the chain even if you partition the network. And so I realized that there was no mathematical solution to that, and the only way to really figure it out was to model it, was to simulate it. So.
All right. Awesome discussion, guys. We're well over 3 hours already. We still haven't done the news or brought up viewers on stage. So I'm gonna try to quickly move things along. Ofrn, thank you so much, man, for jumping up today. You're always welcome here. I'm glad you were finally able to jump up. Appreciate everything you do for Monero. And yeah, thanks for being so open with everyone, man.
Yeah, no problem.
So yeah, let me go ahead and run the viewers on stage, see if there's anybody that wants to jump up. And then maybe I will quickly run through the news. So here we go, viewers on stage.
The Monerotopia Viewers on Stage segment is sponsored by XMR Bar. Play dice with Monero using a privacy-respecting and provably fair algorithm. Go to xmr.bar. As always, verify and never trust.
Please gamble responsibly in accordance with the laws of your jurisdiction.
All right. I see we got Alaska in the house, Cellar Door, Elias. Yeah, if anybody else, I will quickly drop the link, StreamYard link in the chat. I do want to move things along since we're already well over 3 hours here. Maybe I'll just quickly run through the news. Let me go ahead and run that. All right, here we go.
The Monerotopia Weekly News segment is sponsored by WizardSwap.io, a non-custodial cryptocurrency exchange.
All right, let me quickly share my screen here. Bam. All right. Can you guys see my X right now? X feed?
No.
No. Oh, that's because I didn't bring it up. Now, can you?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So first story of the day, this guy who works for Proton, I'm not exactly sure what his position is. He tweeted out that Proton VPN, Proton Mail, Proton Drive, Proton Pass, and Proton Unlimited are you could use Monero essentially to buy all these services. But then it then turned out to be that actually, because then Paul asked directly or just still using a reseller, aka proxy store, and I believe it's that they're just using a reseller that's selling like essentially, I guess, like gift cards to the service, and they're not actually natively accepting Monero. So that was a little bit of a roller coaster. People got excited, and then people got upset because they're not natively accepting it, and they should, man, given who they are. This is kind of a big story this week in reaction to all the Charlie Kirk stuff. What does the administration want to do? They want to start essentially going after people that are using hate speech. So kind of antithetical to what Charlie Kirk stood for, right? He was a kind of a free speech absolutist, right? All about engaging in speech and letting the best ideas win. And here was the Trump administration reacting in the opposite direction. Can't say I'm surprised. Let me go ahead and quickly play this clip.
Never let a good crisis go to waste.
No sound.
No sound, guys?
Yeah, but funnily enough, you can totally tell what they're saying because they both have resting bitch face going on. So, like, it's pretty obvious that they're here to,
why is this
nanny us into being quiet, you know?
Except that that's not the truth.
I
can't tell what they're saying.
No, you guys can't hear anything?
No.
No, can you hear it on your end?
Yeah, I could hear it on my end. That's why. You know what?
Whenever somebody is making that face, they're always telling you that you shouldn't be allowed to say what you want to say. So it's like already written on their face.
Let me see if I just do it like this. Hold on. Where is it? No, I can't even find the link. Bop. Well, here is the link of... Oh, wait, here it is. Well, this is Thomas Massey responding to it. Hate speech is a term used by those in power to describe thoughts they don't want spoken. It's antithetical to the First Amendment. So it's nice to at least see Thomas Massey speaking out against it. But let me see if I can play the video if it works this way.
And there is no
There it is.
place,
Did you guys hear?
especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle. There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is...
Yeah, so there you go, guys. Trump administration is now declaring war on free speech in response to Charlie Kirk's passing, which is pretty ironic. Pretty sad to see. But
so
yeah,
does that mean I have a warrant out for my arrest?
I don't know, man. Be careful what you say.
When I don't show up one of these Saturdays, that means you need to get the out. Okay.
Next story, we pretty much covered this, but Baby Solo tweeted, FUD spreads faster than facts, but XMR proves truth survives the noise. An 18-block reorg made the headlines. The reality, the attack was economic, not technical. Disruptive, yes. Destructive, no. The war on privacy won't stop. They rent power. We own time. Ofren, I would think you would disagree with that, right? It shouldn't be.
Yeah, that's like propaganda damage control. as much as like I like that people will, are going out of their way to do damage control, I'm not a fan of lying, and it's not true that nothing bad happened.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we should be putting our head in the sand with this issue. And then we had some fun tweets come from beyond. So many articles about Monero transactions being erased and not a single report of a double spending. Why? Ofrn, I think you have you had a comment on that too, right? Like
I commented on that with the command that you can send to Monero D in order to see how many invalid transactions and how many double spends the node is seeing. And I sent a screenshot of it.
Right, so we didn't technically have a double spend, but we, like you were explaining.
No, we technically did. We had 50 plus of them.
Those are considered double. Yeah.
So
categorize that as a double spend.
Yeah, so if I send you 5 Monero, and that transaction gets invalidated, and then I flush my TX pool and send that 5 Monero to somebody else, I double spent that money I sent to you. If I sent it back to you, it wouldn't be considered a double spend. It would be considered a double spend by the node, but it wouldn't be considered a double spend in the traditional sense because I didn't steal any money from anybody.
Right.
But if I send that money again to anybody but you, it's a double spend. And the nodes have seen at least 50 of those, at least 50 instances where people respent the money that had previously been spent.
Right. I don't know if I would. I totally get what you're saying, and I think it's good to be realistic about it and categorize it as that for purposes of not letting people put their head in the sand. But I don't know if other people have comments on that, whether they technically consider that a true double spend.
Well, like if I bought a gift card from CakePay, and CakePay requires 10 confirmations, right? If I bought a gift card from CakePay and my transaction was invalidated and I got the gift card, then I didn't pay for that gift card.
Right.
I now have the money back and I can do whatever I want with it, which isn't the double spend attack, but it's a double spend. A double spend attack would involve me doing it on purpose.
Right.
Would involve me being the one to force that to happen. But I'm not the one that forced it to happen. Cubic is the one that allowed people to double spend unintentionally.
Exactly. All right. That makes it. That's when you put it that way, it makes a whole lot of sense. So yeah, guys. I mean, don't panic, but let's not act like it's not a problem. Go ahead.
But I think people who are still on the fence about this should really pay attention to the last thing that he said, which is there is now an entity that has caused intentionally the ability for people to get stuff without paying. So Cubic is making it possible for people to get stuff without paying. And so at this point, they are actively contributing, whether the people who are doing it intentionally or unintentionally. If they spent Monero and then got it back and they don't realize that, and then they spend it again, which is at least 4/5 of all of the elements of what we don't want to happen with double spending. But Cubic is facilitating outright theft at this point. Like, even if it's out of ignorance, what he's saying is it is now 100% confirmed that Cubic can be seen as nothing but a hostile actor. So people who are still on the fence about this, like, it's too late now. They have actively contributed to outright theft using the Monero blockchain.
And we know that CFB is monitoring the research lab and the research lounge because he's quoted stuff that's been said there plenty of times. And Renee had proposed that we perform the invalidation attack on testnet before anybody does it on mainnet, just to prove that it happens. So we did it, and we got a bunch of transactions stuck in the TX pool. And like 2 days later, no, it was immediately after I pushed the DNS checkpoint pull request that they did the 18 block reload. And I'm like, they did that on purpose. Like, they knew what could happen. We proved it on testnet. The transactions are stuck in the mempool. You can see them. You can see them stuck there. You can see them invalidated. And then they went and they did it on mainnet as soon as we showed that we were almost ready to push the DNS checkpoints. And that's like, you guys are like unequivocally bad actors. You're malicious entities. And whoever you guys have as exchange partners, considering you dump Monero there to buy Cubic or whatever it is you do, those people are potential victims of what you just did. So to me personally, I hope that MBXC or whoever else is has Cubic listed, delist them and treats them like the bad actors that they are, because they are the ones that broke Kraken's wallets. They are the ones that are the reasons why MBXC or Kraken or whoever has to raise their deposit confirmations. It's not because of some random freak of act of nature. It's because somebody is actively allowing people to steal money.
And more importantly, like in the long run, we're very blessed that this is happening to us still so relatively early in the game. The opportunity to see, you know, real world pen testing like this, I guess, for lack of a better word. Because the thing is a lot of people who have been behaving hostily toward Monero are now watching as Monero is creating like systems to improve its resiliency against real bad actors, against real thieves. And Cubic is also stealing from people that are contributing to their mining, just like you were talking about earlier, which I'm far less knowledgeable on exactly what was going on with that. But you have lots and lots of people claiming that they're not getting the rewards that they were told they were going to get. So they're stealing from the people contributing to Cubic. They're stealing they're causing theft from people who are accepting Monero, and they've caused disruptions in these exchanges. And at this point, could it be anything less than this person is clearly anybody who works on it, they're hostile participants in the space. And when is the time where everybody's going to treat them as such? I don't know. I mean, Monero seems to be figuring it out, but.
All right, guys, let me keep moving. Otherwise, we'll never get through the news here. Next story is a new version of P2 Pool has been released. I don't know if you guys have any comment on that, if anybody understands what the new release is doing.
Yeah, so normally P2 Pool has a very good block relay. So if I find a block on P2 Pool, all the other P2 Pool miners also submit that block to their nodes, which makes the block propagate the network a lot faster. Now, if you run your own centralized pool and you connect it to a P2 Pool node, as of this new version, the P2 Pool node will see when a new block arrives on your node, and it will relay that to P2 Pool nodes to also have them broadcast it. So it improves propagation of blocks for people that aren't even mining on P2 Pool.
Yeah, I think I saw that Data Hoarder said something to the fact that it could improve the hash rate by up to 1% because of nodes having the blocks faster.
Yeah, I think I can't remember what he said exactly, but I think it's basically that instead of mining on the old block, because you get the block faster, that you'd start mining on the new block faster, which would give us, I wouldn't say give us an advantage, but give us more power against selfish mining, because the reason Cubic broadcasts empty blocks is because empty blocks propagate faster. So by speeding up our propagation of normal blocks, it lowers that gap a bit.
Oh, that's good. All right, so exciting to see improvements happening there. Next story. Jameson Lopp noticed that everyone using TradeOgre exchange just got rugged, and a message on a chain claims it was seizure by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So it was first a rumor because people saw this message, and then the news came out soon thereafter that it was in fact not just a rumor, but TradeOgre has been taken over by essentially the Canadian government. They came in, they rugged everybody, and they currently hold everybody's crypto that had crypto on there. As we said earlier, it's unfortunate because it's being framed like everybody that was using TradeOgre was doing, participating in some kind of legal activity that, had whatever dirty crypto and was going there to wash it, whatever the claims may be. But, we know that there were a lot of innocent actors that were just using it because it was just an easy way to swap cryptos like, Litecoin, Bitcoin, whatever, into privacy coins, and to swap Monero into other privacy coins. So unfortunate to see. I guess nice to see that, it wasn't the TradeOgre people after all. So a lot of people were upset. Like, how could they do this? They seemed like they were a good service. So it wasn't them that rugged you. It was the Canadian government.
And the Canadian government claims that the TradeOgre operator had passed away. So on one hand, it's probably a good thing that the government has the money. Otherwise, it would have just been lost to the ether. Now, I guess you could contact the Canadian government and demand your money back. Otherwise, they're just grave robbers.
So wait,
the Canadian government said that he passed away.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they said it was a guy in the United States that had recently died who owned the exchange, and that they're not looking for anybody, and there's no charges pressed or anything like that.
Huh? That's a little
which would make a little bit of sense if like when the website was still up, why people were having trouble contacting support or other things like that.
Okay.
It could have even been that somebody had an issue with the exchange, contacted support, couldn't get in touch with them, and then contacted the police about it, and the police went and seized it, and they found out that the reason the guy couldn't get his support was because the operator was dead. So rest in peace if he actually passed away, and yeah.
Yeah.
As far as the RCMP having your crypto, good luck getting it back. But it's kind of doubtful that I wouldn't think many criminals would be caught up in this, because I would think most criminals would be smart enough to know not your keys, not your coins.
Yeah, and that's like the big thing with TradeOgre was it was an exchange for people to mine all of these other coins without having to create wallets for them. You could mine Cubic. You know what I mean? And you don't have to create a Cubic wallet. You could just deposit the Cubic directly to TradeOgre and then sell it.
Right.
Like you don't ever have to own a Cubic wallet. So there was a lot of Cubic that was actually lost on TradeOgre as a result of that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Pirate Chain, Walnero,
Xano,
Monero.
Because remember in that Xano transparency report or whatever, that TradeOgre was staking Xano.
Okay.
So whatever Xano TradeOgre was staking is gone now.
Yep.
I don't know if people are going to value this, but it's as an Alaskan, you have a lot of interactions with the Canadian government. It's just part of anything that comes via road or whatever has to go through Canada. In fact, there are lots of places where in order to get from one part of Alaska to another part of Alaska, you have to go through Canada. And I can tell you, dealing with the Canadian government for anything ever takes months and months. Like if you want to make like the slightest change to any kind of official interaction, it can take like 6 months to do the most basic things. And I have so much pity on anybody who is going to try to get their crypto back from the Canadian government, because the paperwork is going to be impossible. It's going to take God knows how long. They're probably going to charge you for like how long they had to be a custodian or something. You're going to have to like have all kinds of documents that they even usually make you mail in physical copies of all kinds of important documents like your IDs and passports and stuff. And then they hold on to them until the interaction is finished. So like a whole bunch of crypto bros having to send the passport to the Canadian government and leave it with them for like a year before they can get their crypto back. This is going to be an absolute nightmare for people who have to go through this. I feel so bad for them.
In other words, that means the Canadian government has now a bunch of crypto.
Yeah, and it's a really good argument for why we should never go proof of stake as well, because like it's this is what they do. They just hoard and hoard and hoard all kinds of these assets and so on. And then they'll just like borrow against them in their own fiat Fed notes in order to like prop up their dollary dues, which Canadian dollars are already basically worthless. So
yeah, so it was in fact confirmed by the Canadian government, and the number being quoted is 56 million in crypto. That was
but you see that last website you were looking at said 32.
Yeah,
that's where it's like that. That's 32 that was that you could see on chain in transparent addresses. For the rest of it, it has to be in privacy coins. So that's like I'm saying that's 15 to 25 million in that could potentially be Monero. And that's where I'm like, that's over 100,000 Monero. So I'm not like, when it comes to proof of stake, I'm not comfortable with knowing that when a darknet market gets seized or TradeOgre gets seized or whoever loses their Monero in an RCMP accident, all of a sudden that can be used as stake. And I'm like, the same thing whether you're using KuCoin or Binance or whatever. We already know that TradeOgre was staking Xano. If they could have, they would have staked Monero. They would have staked the users' deposits. Why not? Like,
There's another really interesting part about this, which if the guy died in the United States and he was operating in the United States, and yet the Canadian government ends up with this, and maybe there's some kind of peripheral reason. But if I were a hostile actor to the crypto community, an ideal place for this seizure to take place would be Canada, because Canada can get away with all kinds of stuff without having to pass laws, without having, they can just bureaucracy the crap out of all of this wealth without any recourse, especially since it's a very low population location and it's very hard to interact with the government. It's kind of like the ideal vault as far as a government is concerned for scooping up all of this stuff.
Well, if the guy didn't die, the government is smart, because let's say I was the guy and the government just stole my exchange. What am I going to do? Come out and say, I'm not dead. Give me my money. I'm going to get arrested as soon as I do that.
If he wasn't dead, he's practically dead now, right?
Yeah, so it's in his own best interest to just pretend like he's dead and let the government steal his money.
That's wild. Let me keep moving. So Cake Wallet came out with a new feature. Our new Pay Anything feature does exactly what it promises. Send to any address using whatever crypto you have. No wallet switching, no manual swaps, just seamless payment. So you can basically scan any crypto address, any type of, not just Monero, obviously any crypto address, and then it will essentially auto swap. That's pretty cool. So obviously they're trying to get closer and closer to making it seamless payments, right? So it's not, eventually these things are kind of happening in the background. You see a payment address, you swipe, you pay, and then it's just paying with whatever crypto you have. That is kind of the holy grail of how we want to be using these wallets eventually. Next story. Here we go. I try not to be a conspiracy theorist, but I have a really hard time believing in a short text message between the alleged shooter. I don't know if I'm sure most people saw this. There's text messages that came out that was allegedly from the shooter to his boyfriend, and in those text messages, he essentially makes a confession. He confirms the location of where the weapon would have been, confirms the type of weapon, confirms it was wrapped in a towel, confirms his motive, exonerates the decoy, somebody else that had that they were, somebody else that they were labeling as the shooter, admits to the bullet engravings, confirms the wardrobe change, confirms how long he's been planning it. This is all in the text messages that he sent out to his boyfriend right after the incident took place. He found a comfortable spot to sit down and basically, spill his guts and admit everything in text. So obviously, seems a little odd. I guess probably the best reasoning I heard is that he was just trying to provide an alibi, right, to his boyfriend. So the boyfriend can pretend that he had no idea what was happening and whatnot. This discloses the existence and location of a now destroyed pre-written confession note, randomly tells his boyfriend that his dad is diehard MAGA, as if he wouldn't have already known that. So yeah, just more curious, interesting things about that case. I won't go into it. There's plenty of discussion happening on X relative to all that. We spoke about it last week. This is a good one. So hell has frozen over. Tucker Carlson is calling out the fascist authoritarian Trump regime for insidiously using the assassination of Charlie Kirk as an excuse to abolish the First Amendment, round up Americans, and carry out the Nazification of America. So you even have Tucker Carlson now calling out the Trump admin. Let's see what he has to say.
You hope that. You hope that Charlie Kirk's death won't be used by a group we now call bad actors to create a society that was the opposite of the one he worked to build. You hope that. You hope that a year from now, the turmoil we're seeing in the aftermath of his murder won't be leveraged to bring hate speech laws to this country. And trust me, if it is, if that does happen, there is never a more justified moment for civil disobedience than that, ever. And there never will be. Because if they can tell you what to say, they're telling you what to think. There is nothing they can't do to you because they don't consider you human. They don't believe you have a soul. A human being with a soul, a free man, has a right to say what he believes. Not to hurt other people, but to express his views. You hope that.
And has a right to use untraceable digital cash as well. So unfortunate to see the Trump regime moving in this direction. But once again, we can't say we're surprised. Right, I'm sure the connection to Palantir may have something to do with it. Right, how are they going to enforce these things? So we're waiting to see what hammer drops next with the administration in response to Charlie Kirk. Does it lead to the implementation of digital IDs and the ramping up of Palantir? Who knows? To be determined. But it looks like that's the direction the administration is heading in, using this as an excuse. The ratchet effect to ratchet things up, use this tragedy, this incident to basically implement more authoritarianism. Untraceable put out a really good tweet. The Monero community has raised 1,895 XMR. That's almost 600K at current prices for protocol development and other Monero related projects so far in 2025. So that's pretty impressive. 35,000 Monero, so 10 million since 2020, and 630 Monero, almost 200K, was donated just last week. So very cool to see the numbers in action. It just keeps going up and up and up. The amount of donations, that have been made to the CCS projects over time. So that's always a very good indication. People are supporting Monero development. And we got one last story here, not directly Monero related, but as you know, we like to keep an eye on the totalitarianism, on the technocratic state. So here's a tweet somebody put out. I guess this was a recent interview she did, I assume, or maybe somebody who just brought it up, but it's a good one to watch. This is insane. Whitney Webb gives a history of Palantir. Palantir essentially started as a DARPA project. So let's go ahead and listen to this. She's alleging that, and I think I've heard her mention this before, that it basically came out of a government program. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
Peter Thiel, as an example, Palantir has been in the news, right? He's a co-founder of that. So how was Palantir created? Well, there was this company that was being run, or not company, sorry. It was a government program after 9/11 called Total Information Awareness. It was housed within the Pentagon's DARPA office. And the man they chose to put in charge of that was John Poindexter, who was the highest ranking member of the Reagan administration to be indicted for his role in Iran-Contra, which, again, the continuity of government stuff is relevant here. So eventually, it launches and whatever, but people are outraged by it because, as they rightly pointed out, it would eliminate constitutional protections of Americans' rights, specifically the right to privacy, among other things. It was a huge surveillance dragnet, and its goal wasn't just to, surveil everything. It was to predict crime before it happens, predict terror attacks before it happens. I mean, it's like Minority Report was basically the end goal of it. And so after all the pushback, they changed the name to Terrorist Information Awareness and try and rebrand. Oh, it's not total. We are still gonna surveil innocent Americans, but we're focusing on the terrorists. They did all this stuff to try and rebrand it, but Congress defunded it. But hidden in that bill, Congress allowed aspects of it to continue. And essentially, I argue in my work on Palantir that an effort was made to privatize large aspects of TIA as Palantir. Because when Alex Karp and Peter Thiel were setting it up, they went to John Poindexter through this guy named Richard Pearl, who is a long-standing neocon actor with very extensive ties also to the state of Israel. He was caught in the 70s giving classified information to Israel's embassy and should have gone to jail and somehow did not. And had a lot of ties also to Netanyahu's first government. And Richard Pearl is the guy that connected Thiel Karp to Poindexter, and they basically wanted to talk to Poindexter because they wanted to recreate total information awareness and saw him as the godfather of modern mass surveillance. And in doing so, they basically, Peter Thiel teams up with In-Q-Tel, the CIA's venture capital firm. Alex Karp has said on record that the intended clients of Palantir from the beginning was the CIA. And, the CIA was their first client for their first 6 years as a company. Their top developers went to Langley, Virginia, which is CIA headquarters, every 2 weeks to show the CIA their product and have them tweak it to their liking. And during that period of time, one of the top people at the CIA that would have been involved in that is this guy named Alan Wade, who was also intimately involved with total information awareness. And if you look at how total information awareness was described, its privacy protections, it's exactly the same as the way Palantir sold their stuff later on. So there's an insane amount of overlap. And what's crazy here is that Alan Wade, a few years prior, had created a Homeland Security software program that was also pre-crime-esque and similar to what Palantir ended up doing. It was called Kiliad, and he teamed up with Christine Maxwell to do that. Peter Thiel.
So it's all connected. It's all connected, and she lays it out pretty well, right? Palantir started basically as a government-run program. They had to privatize it essentially to get around the Fourth Amendment, and it's with us today in the form of a private organization called Palantir. That's
almost all of these are still government-run programs. Like Amazon Web Services is kept. Such a huge body of their funding comes from hosting CIA stuff and not paying shipping. Not paying U.S. Postal Service charges to ship packages, and all their competition do, and all that. You got Palantir, but also remember Facebook used to be LifeLog, and that was another government program all of the money for that came from the government. Every time their stock starts tanking, they get huge injections from the government. The reality is governments have stopped existing for a very long time now, and it was already, the writing was on the wall way back in the Dutch East India Company that the future of governing people was going to be these quasi-government corporate oligarchies, and they've just been fine-tuning the system nonstop to try to keep the ignorant masses subservient to their homogenous governing body. But then in the upper levels, the oligopoly can govern the government with their incestuous corporate government relationships. And that's really one of the biggest blind spots of libertarianism in general, is they still pretend like these mega corporations are somehow different than it's just the government. Walmart was a government payout from the OSS days, or all of these big companies, they're founded inside of some dark corner of government grants and funding and, secret dark money slush funds. They give it to their buddies play ball with the government plays ball with them. And then they use tax funded payouts and special government permissions or privileges and all of that other stuff to basically prop these corporations up. And in exchange, Those people bankroll the people who will then take over the government. And all of these libertarians, they know a lot of this stuff, and they're like, oh, it just needs to be a fair market. Or a lot of these people on the left, they realize that like the government and all of these pharmaceutical companies, it's a revolving door of, you know, regulatory capture. But at some point, people just need to be honest with themselves and realize there is no government, there is no corporation. There is just a bunch of people with guns and money enslaving you. And that's all it is. Like when people try to separate all of these things, it's like there's evil over there and they're conspiring against you. And you can call it whatever you want. But it's just evil people trying to tyrannize you.
Alrighty. Can't say I disagree with any of that. Kevin Tip, 30 cents. Did Cubic manipulate difficulty adjustment times to get more selfish mine blocks? How much would have Cubic spent daily to get approximately 2 to 3 gigahash? Is Ofrn still here? I think he stepped out.
No, he's asking to be put to come back in because he got thrown out.
Okay, there he is. Ofrn, I don't know if you're there, if you want to respond to what Kevin was asking here about Cubic.
By the way, was that the last of the news stories, Doug?
Yeah, that was the last of the news stories.
Okay,
they did manipulate the difficulty, and the way that happens with selfish mining is, let's say you have a period where there would be 100 blocks mined. Because they're orphaning blocks that whole time, there might be 150 blocks mined instead of 100, but only 100 blocks are taken into account for the difficulty. So instead of the nodes reporting that there's 7 gigahash, it'll only report that there's 5. And that's basically selfish mining on its own manipulates the difficulty. And one of Tevador's proposals with Publish or Perish would use orphan blocks as uncles and add them to the difficulty, which would reduce the amount of blocks that are produced to be. The total number of blocks produced would still be around 720 per day instead of us having 900 blocks produced in a day, but only 720 actually making it onto the main chain.
And then I have a couple of news stories that I don't think you brought up there, Doug.
Okay.
Both the Philippines and Thailand in 1 week seized bank accounts. I can't remember which was which, but one country seized 86 million bank accounts, and the other one, I don't remember what the number was, but they've both seized bank accounts within this past week.
Maybe
was one of the countries that seized bank accounts for not having proper identification documents one of those two countries, or was that the third one?
There was a third one. One was like a biometric ID thing. I think that was the Philippines. I can't remember for certain though which one was which. There was one that was biometric ID. There was one that was a crackdown on supposed drug mules, and if there was a third one, I didn't hear about it.
DevLover tipped 3 cents. Thanks for everything. Yeah, thank you, man. So yeah, I think that concludes the show for today. If anybody, if you want to bring anything up before I close it out, anybody that's on stage. Otherwise, we're approaching 4 hours here.
I'm good. I think we're about time to end it.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
This was a banger of a show, you guys. For real, this was awesome.
They just always inevitably turn into marathons. A lot going on. I love that just, people treat this like the public square here, jumping up. So I love that Ofrn came out today. Thank you, everybody else that participated. Bawdy, obviously, thank you as always.
I just wanted to say that.
Thank you for co-piloting. Go ahead, Ofrn.
I just wanted to say that despite all the drama and everything, full chain membership proofs hasn't slowed down basically at all. If anything, like there was a couple issues I found when testing full chain membership proofs. Like one of them would be if I send a transaction from one wallet and I have a second wallet with the same seed, and that transaction is still in the mempool, the second wallet won't see the transaction. Because of that bug, during these reorgs, people, their balances are not looking right, because when the transaction goes from a confirmed block back to the mempool, it causes the wallets not to see the transaction until it's confirmed again, which makes your wallet not usable. So these issues that were going to be solved for full chain membership proofs are now being solved right away, right? So it's like there's a lot of work that was either already being done that has now just been expedited, and all in all, like, I don't feel full chain, like, people like that were saying full chain membership proofs is like 2027 or whatever. I don't think we're that far away. I think I think the biggest roadblock is merging it into the Monero code base now, and then rigorous testing, and having the audits clear up. But for the most part, it's usable. It works well. For wallet developers, it's not like they need to completely redesign the wheel. It's basically plug and play. That you could build Cake Wallet today and make it use the full chain membership proof libraries. It'll work.
That's amazing.
It'll work like normal. And then with the DNS checkpoints and everything, like I don't feel we're far away on anything. I feel like we're at the top, and it's basically, it's the difficulty level goes down from here. Because once we're out of the hot water with Cubic and invalidated transactions and whatever, then we don't have that to worry about. Once we get the testnet out for full chain membership proofs, we're basically a couple audits away from being able to actually push it to mainnet. So
exciting, man. Yeah, thanks for leaving it on a positive note, and I think you're just being genuine about that, which is great news to hear. Right, we were just kind of skipping along. Everybody's excited about full chain membership proofs, and then bam, Cubic out of nowhere. Right, nobody was expecting this attack to happen, but the Monero community has been responding, as we heard from Ofrn today. So hopefully we'll be out of the woods soon with that, and then it'll be clear skies ahead for the launch of full chain membership proofs. Very exciting. All right, guys, let me go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and end it here. We do these shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Spread the word. Join us next week. Adios.
Hold it down.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Monerotopia episode. We stream live shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find and subscribe to our show on YouTube and ODYSEE, or listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or join us in the Monerotopia Telegram group. See you all next week.